Oh, that was late.
Hey guys! This week, the 6 on my team are Truex, Logano, Larson, Blaney, Chase, and Suarez. For the rest of you, better luck next week.
She's missing out, dude.
Yeah.
The all-new NASCAR Fantasy Live. Visit nascar.com/fantasy and build your team today.
We're happy that you're spending your Tuesday night with us at RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live. Pace car down and in the field in the hands of Zach Novak, American Ethanol green flag, and we are racing from Las Vegas, round 4 of the 2018 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series. And Novak, no worries, first time into the quarter, he'll lead in front of battle for second. He's got the 04 of Bordeaux under attack. How about 3 wide? It's Ray Alfalla up the inside, trying to go 4th to 2nd. 3 wide again, the 04's got to check up. That's the 6 Alusa in front of Derek Bordeaux, and that will allow Rattler to move himself to the inside. The 27 of Mullis into the outside wall. He'll come down and tag Bobby Zelensky. Both of those cars spin through the grass. The 14 is also around. I think that's Kerwin behind them. None of that, though, brings itself back up above the white line, so we're going to have no caution, and we stay green. Big problems, though, for some fast cars.
Caution, though, is that...
Oh, race leader! Keegan Leahy is involved in this one, your race leader. That's him up on the outside of the racetrack in turn 2, and that was not of his doing. Caution flag is out, and it was problems with the number 3 of Jarl Tien. The 3 car into the 57, that car into the outside wall. The caution flag is out. You saw it there. Keegan Leahy, your race leader, already committed to the corner. For Ryan Luza, had a 4-second advantage when he came into the box, and I think he's going to go with the 4 tires still, Tim, so he sticks with his call, but that's going to really hurt the 6.
Yeah, absolutely horrendous stop, and I'm sure Ryan Luza is kind of kicking himself right now, but he blends back up into traffic, and he'll get back to business. You can't let that bother you as much as you lose a little bit of time sliding into the box, getting the wall a little bit, and then trying to caddy corner your way back into your box. You can't let that get to you. If you're a race car driver, you got to get back into the rhythm and try to click off some very quick laps.
That number 11 car, who's laps down, is still there and is really making things difficult for these drivers. He's harassing your race leader right now, going to slot himself around the outside. This is allowing Alfalla to potentially close the gap. And look at that, the 6 machine Alusa, he's reeled in a lot of speed the last couple laps. He's suddenly hooked up. Ryan is there.
He was all the way on the apron that time. 3 cars in a line. A race win in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series is on the line. 6 laps to go. Alfalla looks high. The 12 goes all the way up to the wall, traces him down to the inside, and still no advantage to either driver. Luza, though, way up the hill. He's got a big run at it, too. To the bumper, he tries to go low. Alfalla's going to go low as well, and we're going to go 3 wide for the race lead as the 6 tries to pinch it down. He can't do it as Alfalla stays in front, and here we go now. 3 wide for the race lead. There's contact between Luza and Alfalla, and the 6 car hangs on.
Here's that run from Ryan Luza on the back bumper of Ray Alfalla. Alfalla holding him off so far. This is looking good for Shelton up in front.
The more they fight for second, the less they can focus on the 12 car up front. Alfalla noticed that 6 car's been going high in 1 and 2, tries to do the same thing, but there's the undercut. Luza goes low halfway through the quarter, and it is going to be side by side for second, but he wants to go for the race lead as well. He'll take the inside line all the way up next to the 12 of Shelton, and he's got it. Ryan Luza to the race lead at 4 laps to go. It is far from over, but a beautiful move to get 2 spots at once. Lap traffic somewhat out of the way up on the outside of the racetrack. He's got a clear shot to Luza, but a 4-car length disadvantage, I think, is going to be too much. And Ryan Luza had this one locked up, made a big mistake on pit road, and the most spirited drive we've seen of the year is going to keep the 6 machine on top. He gets the pass with 3 laps to go, and he'll go back-to-back. Winner from Vegas, Ryan Michael Luza gets 2 wins in a row, backing up the win from Fontana 2 weeks ago with the checkered here tonight, and he makes an impressive statement. Thought he gave it away, but would not back down. Shelton so close to a first career win.
road to $10,000 rolls through the Commonwealth of Virginia, where tonight from Richmond, the best oval sim racing drivers in the world resume their journey towards a NASCAR sanctioned championship. Good evening, race fans, and welcome to the Richmond Raceway and our continuing coverage of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live. Tim Terry, Randy Chenoweth, Cisco Scaramuza here with you. Evan Pasoko is off this evening. Hugo Louis pushing all the buttons and making the magic happen this evening from Richmond Raceway. And before we go racing here this evening, we have a special guest on the line. Dennis Bickmeyer, the president of Richmond Raceway, is joining us before we throw the green flag on round number 5 this evening. Dennis, are you excited for this one tonight?
We are, yes. The boys and I are getting ready to tune in. We've been watching some of the races since Daytona. It's fun for us to do this as a family. So I look forward to a great race tonight.
You guys have a huge involvement with eSports through Richmond Raceway. Why eSports and why the iRacing platform?
Well, it's interesting because of how popular it is, for one, and I think certainly a growing segment as well. And like you said, we've jumped in with both feet on this. I mean, we feel it's a great way to attach ourselves to, the young people that are playing these games. I mean, as well as it's popular here in Richmond. So we kind of wanted to be on the cutting edge of it, and I think we've done that. So it's been interesting for us. I mean, we've hosted a couple of esports tournaments, did one this past weekend at the Raceway, and again, I think it's kind of separates us from everybody else. Everyone's trying to figure this out, but we really jumped in.
And it's great to have the at-track activation as well on this. But let's talk about the chaos. You talked about watching these races and having somebody to cheer for. You got 6 cars in the race here cheering for Michael Conti, Brian Schoenberg, Nick Ottinger, the rest of the guys. Is there anybody that you're looking for that could possibly walk into victory lane tonight here at Richmond?
Well, I don't want to pick one of us. I just want to see all 6 of them battling it out. How's that? They've had some good races this year. It's been fun to see the interaction on social media as well. And love seeing the cars out there with the logos on it. So I think my son has a favorite. He's been following Michael Conti, so that's my youngest. So I don't want to put any pressure on him tonight, but just want to wish all those guys good luck tonight.
And we're glad that you're joining us and watching it this evening. And have fun this evening, and congratulations on a great Toyota Owners 400 weekend.
Yeah, we had a great weekend. Just an unbelievable atmosphere at the racetrack here, and so I want to invite everybody that haven't been out to Richmond Raceway, come out and give us a try, and see NASCAR live. When they come back in September, it's a playoff race. So everybody have a great time tonight, and looking forward to the race.
Dennis Bickmeyer, the president of Richmond Raceway, joining us, and we're getting ready to go racing. Cisco, it's 200 laps. This race always provides some action and excitement. What do we expect this evening at around number 5?
I think you just you hit the nail on the head right there, Tim. Action, excitement, but what makes this track particularly interesting is that it's one of the bigger short tracks that we go to. It's 0.75 miles, so it's just under a mile. It shares a little bit of similarities with something like an Iowa Speedway, but it gives these guys, well, maybe a short track, plenty of racing room to, I will say we've seen 3 wide in the past in these Cup cars. It would not surprise me if we saw a little bit of it tonight.
We've seen some really good races here in the past, and especially these last couple of races, 2017. We only had 2 cautions in the race as we get ready to go racing here this evening. And we'll bring you the starting lineup for round number 5 of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series from the Richmond Raceway. And on the pole, it's Ryan Luza continuing his strength, looking for win at number 3, putting in Here this evening on an early yellow flag, but we are doubled up and getting ready to go back to the green flag with Ryan Luza and Taylor Hurst occupying that front row. Hurst will now have the outside of row number 1. He fired from position number 3. On the initial start of this one, Zielinski in position number 3 now with Zach Novak, who's very strong here at Richmond and has been strong the last couple rounds here in 2018. And Matt Busa in position number 5. Pace cars off. And on the hammer is Ryan Luza. We're back underway. Watch Zielinski trying to get to the inside of Hurst. Hurst lets him have the line down into corner number 1. And it looks like Zielinski's going to try to continue to work on the inside of the 74.
Yeah,
see if he can get
even up as they come off of turn number 2. Back to turn number 3 we go. Down the inside, Zielinski's still there. Going to keep the nose up. And they'll be even up as they come off turn number 4. Just a nose to the line. They're going to be Bobby Zielinski. Sorry about that, Randy.
You better be.
We'll just see about that, but Tim, the battle continues. No, Zielinski will be able to pull away here. Now down the inside, going to be Matt Busa in the 34. He'll look to the inside, the 74, Taylor Hurst through 3 and 4 once again. They're 2 by 2 because right behind him, it's Keegan Leahy and Zach Novak going at it.
Yeah, don't look back too far because you have Leahy on the inside working Zach Novak, and then you have Nick Ottinger, who loves this racetrack as well. He's won twice here, and he's looking to get towards the front of the field and take it to victory lane for the Chaos crew. Corey Vincent is there as well. And there's a driver we haven't talked about a whole lot this season, but has been quietly working along Chris Overland at the back of that train as well, trying to make up a couple of spots here early. But now Taylor Hurst falling back, Keegan Leahy to the inside, and Leahy will move to position number 4.
It's going to be a good move there from that number 24 car. Really needs to have a good response drive after what happened to him out at Vegas. Of course, catching that number 3 of Jarl T, and after that issue in corner number 1 and 2. Had such a strong season up until that point, was dominating that race. He really needs to rebound here at Richmond.
Really needs to rebound indeed as he'll bring Hurst, and then behind them Ottinger beginning to move again. Novak falling back here early. Keep in mind, Zach Novak led the most laps here last year at Richmond and is looking to get back to victory lane, but now he's going to surrender that spot to Ottinger. Up in front continues to be Ryan Luza, leading by about 3/4 of a second. Zielinski comfortably in 3rd, and Matt Busa having a great run so far in position number 3. But up in front, Cisco, we seen this on the first run. Most of these drivers getting single file, trying to log some laps and get a rhythm here.
Yeah, and we saw actually the gap to Ryan Luza close up a little bit as the run went on, but Luza out of the box has just had breakneck speed, has opened up about a 6-car length gap or so. It's about 0.6 of a second over Bobby Zielinski, and it's another almost 0.5 back to Matt Busa as well, since field getting very spaced out right now. First side-by-side battle. It's not even really side-by-side battling. Yeah, it just will scrape out to be one. David Rattler on the inside of the 5. Michael Conti. Conti going to fire it in on the outside as they head back to turns number 1 and 2, and going to try and hang tough on the outside. He will do so and grab that position away from Rattler, whose car looks very loose right now in the opening laps, Tim.
Rolls the top and is trying to bring it to the forefront. Car number 5 of Michael Conti moves back up as we have a caution on the speedway.
It's the number 1 car of Marcus Richardson, who got into something, I believe, in corners number 3 and 4. I have to take a look what happened to that number 1 machine. Oh, he got into it. Who is it? It was a 29. They got a piece of him, sent him around. That was Brandon Pittgrass. Just a bit of a hip check that you typically see here in this sort of short track racing you get at Richmond. Not a particularly big incident, but enough to send Marcus around.
So that will draw the second caution flag of the evening as Ryan Luza will collect the pace car once again, and we'll see if these drivers do decide to head down onto pit road as we get that second caution flag. Maybe an opportunity now for these guys to come back onto pit road, and I know we experienced some technical difficulties in the first couple laps of this race, but no pit stops on that first caution flag, so we'll see if they do decide to peel down here and get some tires 20 laps into this race.
It wouldn't be a bad call, especially if you can maybe get some of that fuel over with, so you don't have to worry about short filling towards the end of this race, and everybody going to decide to come down pit road. I think tires, though, I'm going to be on the docket for most everybody tonight here, Tim. You're going to be burning through them tonight, so you're definitely, every opportunity you're going to get, if most of the field's going to come down, you want to be down there and taking tires. The question is, does anybody try and risk 2 tires? I mean, I don't know if I would, because, well, that's why I'm not out there driving, but nonetheless, I'm sure somebody's got to try it, right?
It's a perfect opportunity to do so, especially so early in this race. We are only 20 laps into this 200-lap main event, and it looks like we might have 1 or 2 that stay out, but Bobby Zielinski is going to win the race off pit road, and he's going to have a huge lead off pit road. Luz are going to come home in second, Busa, Ottinger, and the rest. So maybe some strategy on Bobby Zielinski's part to try to bring that thing a couple of positions closer to the front, but when everybody else took 4, have to see how this plays out in the first couple laps here, because Zielinski has 20 laps on those 2 tires he didn't take.
Gonna be interesting to see, though, for that driver of Bobby Zielinski. It's been sort of a rough start to the season for him. I mean, he's sort of hung about in the top 10, but he's not really had the sort of speed that I know he would like. And, well, maybe this might just be a confidence boost, get out there on old tires. If he can maintain any semblance of pace, sometimes a 2-tire call like this, Tim, could just sort of be the sort of tempo you need to set your night up. Just a good tempo call, get yourself going in the right direction, get yourself in a good rhythm, and a lot of times you can set yourself up on a nice path for the entirety of a 200-lap race such as this.
So up in front of this field, it looks like the 42 with Dylan Duval stayed out on the racetrack, and I know a couple of his teammates are missing here this evening from the team. They've been working with Aftermath Motorsports. Kenny Humpy not on the field here this evening. I know he loves this racetrack too. You got Cody Bias, who had some commitments that he had to take care of this evening, so he's not in the field, and I know Timmy Hill is not here this evening as well. So they are a couple men down on the Aftermath Motorsports and the team, but it looks like Dylan Duval is going to try to fly that flag up in front. He's staying out, and we're doubling up.
Yeah, we are, and I know Dylan has been desperately trying to put in a good run for that team and has been really frustrated with his performance this season. A good sign, though, he's going to be leading come to the line here. If he can get that car hooked up and not spin the tires, not get too worried about sending it in turn 1 and 2, we could see Dylan Duval out front for a little bit here.
We'll see if he can log some laps and stay out in front. He's got Bobby Zielinski on the outside, and then it's Luza, Busa, and Nick Ottinger. Your top 5 pace car is going to peel off here and field in command of the Simcraft, number 42. He's on the hammer. Green flag flies. We're back underway for the 3rd time this evening, and Duval got a great start, as did Zielinski. Side by side behind them, though, with Luza on the inside and Matt Busa trying to roll the top.
Zielinski's going to be pretty happy that he was able to get down in line, hold that 2nd position, but he's going to try up over the top here, the 42 of Dylan Duval. Is he going to be able to make that stick? Seems like 2 tires are quite the call. They're going to go nearly 3 wide for your race lead as Ryan Lutz is going to take a look down to the bottom. Who's going to be able to be supreme here? The 83 is Zielinski. He gets a little bit of a shot. He goes around to the top side in 1 and 2, and the yellow's going to fly. He's going to go from first to worst after that half spin.
Well, that could have been a lot worse for the 83 of Bobby Zielinski. 3 wide going into the corner. Zielinski goes for a slide. Good contact with the wall, but it could have been a lot worse than it was for the 83, with the whole field coming back at him, and that will draw the caution flag one more time. There are a couple of near misses near the back of the field, but for the most part, you got that 83 car of Bobby Zielinski. He's still got a car to compete here this evening.
And he got very lucky, Tim, because when he did get tapped from Dylan Duval, you could see the car get a little bit tight and go up the racetrack, but Bobby kept it up in that 3rd groove, and you're generally not up there unless you're getting spun. So I think most of the field was able to miss it just purely because Bobby was in a part of the track where nobody really else was. If that wreck had happened maybe a few hundred feet further going out to the back straightaway, that could have been a massive accident. But luckily, stays out of the way and caution, but really only 1 car hurt, and that car wasn't really hurt that badly.
And he's going to be able to try to get some track position out of this thing. Dylan Duval now in position number 2, and he'll start on the outside of row number 1 when we do go back green. But the 1 car that I'm seeing that has snuck his way up into the top 5, how about Ray Alfala, starting in 25th and 26 laps into this thing? He's in the top 5. You know he's got a really quick race car. The Virtual Racing School number 2, that team, the Slip Angle team, is fond of this racetrack. They've had lots of success here. They won this race last year, and now with Ray in the top 5, early in the race, 175 laps to go, still a long time, but you got to look at that red rocket there in position number 5 to have something for these guys tonight.
Actually, you got to talk about that red rocket. Teammates of Bobby Zielinski. Ray made the exact same call that number 83 did on that last pit stop. 2 tires. So if you're in that number 2 car, Mr. 3-time, do you start getting a little bit worried? Maybe they're running a similar setup. Maybe they have a very similar chassis situation on the underside of that number 2 Ford Fusion is what they have on the 83 car. Will there be maybe a little bit of a mix-up, and maybe will Ray have to really worry about having good rear traction here once we go back to green flag racing? He's up plus 20, though. I think if you're Ray Alfala, you're going to be happy with the gains for now and just sort of cruise around and try to stay in line versus going 3 wide for the lead from what we saw from Bobby.
You'd almost have to think he's on that same strategy as Dylan Duval. Ray Alfala might have a slightly better car than Dylan Duval, at least at this point in the race, on that strategy. But we're going to see how it plays out. If you're going to try pit strategy, you have to try it early, so at the end of the race, you're not guessing or second guessing. And I know a lot of these drivers and a lot of these teams do have the crew chiefs that are pounding away at the numbers and trying to make sure everything is right for the end of the race. And I know one of our crew chiefs on this series, Brandon Hastings, got a little love from Fox Sports this week with the practice show for the Xfinity Series, and I know he's working away on that number 5 of Michael Conti, trying to get him back towards the front of the field.
It was funny because the Dead Zone Racing guys, being a part of that, I was actually out this weekend with Ian Plash doing some short track stuff, but we saw that all basically blow up in their whole team chat, and everybody was giving him a little bit of heck for being on the television broadcast of that. Was talking to Regan Smith, but really cool to see that whole segment, and it got shared all around Facebook. So awesome to get Hastings up there and get some credit for who is essentially one of the hardest working guys in the pit garage just over the weekend.
And it looks like we're getting ready to go back and seeing some more short track racing here with this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing series. I know Dennis mentioned the Federated Auto Parts 400 coming up here in September, but Cisco, you mentioned some short track racing. Commonwealth Classic for Pass is coming here as well. So going to be an exciting season for Richmond Raceway as we get ready to go back. There's Logan Clampett. Nice smile on his face, getting ready to go. Clampett runs in position number 13 right now, and he's getting ready to dig in the Richmond Raceway. Number 46 car is pace car will leave the racetrack here, and we'll be back to green flag racing. And it's Ryan Luza on the hammer, Dylan Duval keeping with him. Green flag flies, and we're back underway.
The 42 machine might be on old tires, but he's going to get a little bit racy. Ducks down to the bottom of that number 6. Nowhere to go there just yet. The 05 and Nick Ottinger. He's going to cycle off into third. Matt Boos is there still fighting. And Mr. 3-time, he's going to slot it up the inside of that Radicals Toyota Camry. He wants to get himself up into the top 4. Going to come off that corner and run his way down the front straightaway. No good run just yet on the 2 tires, but you also have Keegan Lee as well as Michael Conti. A lot of big names here as that number 6 of Luza. He's checking out.
Dylan Duval checks up that outside line a little bit off corner number 2. Matt Busa behind him. Ottinger was able to get by. Ray Alfala's able to get by. And here goes Keegan Leahy on the inside. Busa's still stuck, still boxed in on that outside line with nowhere to go. Dylan Duval on that outside line, and Matt Busa's looking racy. And here comes Michael Conti looking to pick up a spot or 2.
And you can tell Matt Boost is starting to get a little bit frustrated, Tim, because you can see that car moving all sorts around on that top side, trying to find any way past Dylan right now. I think Matt's got some speed in that car, but the problem is Duval on those older tires is Matt going to drop to the inside right behind Mike Conti there as they head back to turn number 1. Just didn't really have much to go up there behind the Simcraft Chevy, and Duval right now, the tire's not working for him, starting to slide back.
Busa, as you mentioned, though, has found a spot into line on the inside. He sees the 42 and the 5 battling side by side in front of him. And Busa, a teammate with Nick Ottinger at Gale Force Sim Racing, and a satellite teammate to Team Conti and that number 5 and the 05. So it looks like they have their setup figured out here at Richmond, at least early in the race. Haven't seen a long run here, but those guys are known for some long run speed, as well as Busa looks possibly to the outside now with Dylan Duval. At least tried to set it up off before. He'll go to the inside, down into corner number 1, and try to put that 42 in the rearview mirror.
Well, if there's any better track for these guys to have the setup figured out, I think it's going to be here at Richmond. Of course, those guys also associated with the Chaos crew, and you know, those guys sponsored, of course, by this racetrack of Richmond. You know that this is going to be a place where they want to come out, they want to make a statement, and they want to have a fantastic run, not only for themselves, it'll please the sponsors, as the 42 and the 34. They continue to fight side by side as behind. There's another little gaggle as well. You got Corey Vincent, Zach Novak, Casey Kerwin, all fighting for position as there's people fanning down to the bottom, trying to get away from that 15.
Novak fell back early and looks like he's falling back a couple more spots, at least on the outside. Behind them, Schoenberg a little bit sideways. A couple of packs of side-by-side battles as Novak continues to try to roll the top. There's Schoenberg on your screen falling into line just behind Chalner as the front few have got single file. Schoenberg, the Heyman Hustle number 55 for the Chaos crew, looking to make his way up into the top 10 as he's a couple of positions back. You ride on board with him at a corner number 4.
And for Brian Schoenberg, if he could go out and win this race, Tim, this would be huge for him. Another driver who's, you know, had speed, been in the position to go out and win these races, and just the chips haven't fallen his way. So what a story it would be if Brian Schoenberg could go out and win this race for the Chaos crew here at the home track for them of Richmond. It would be awesome to see him, and I would be totally up for doing that post-race interview, because he would probably be jumping out of his chair after that one.
He's had this race circled on his calendar, the anticipation of coming into this race with the Chaos crew at Richmond Raceway. It's been huge, but it's still hard to believe he's been a veteran of this series all the way back to 2010, and he hasn't been to victory lane, and I know he doesn't like us reminding him of that, but he's been close a couple of times, and he likes a good short track race.
Farther around behind him, 57 of Joe Letterello. He's up in the wall in corners number 1 and 2. There's another car that was sliding up. That was the number 12 of Nick Shelton. So a bit of drama here in the mid-pack, and about after another 10 to 15 lap run, we go caution, I believe, for the 3rd time tonight.
And man, Shelton came off a great run at Vegas. He and the 57 of Letterello get into it. Adam Gilliland avoids, and I believe Davis might have got a piece of that right there at the end to bring out the caution flag, and will ride on board with Nick Shelton. After battling with Ryan Lewis and Ray Alfalla for the win at Vegas, he has a long road to hoe to try to get back up towards the front of the field. Caution flag will fly, and he's going to have a little bit of damage to the side of that one after the little smuck from the 11 car.
Yeah, and you see on the replay there, I think that was a case of Shelton knew he was going to be out of luck if he stayed up on that top 3rd line. Remember, that's where Zelensky was, and nobody was up there when he got spun, so he tried to go down the inside, and the 57 of Letterello had other thoughts, and around goes Shelton. So both two drivers fighting for the same piece of real estate, and it catches the 12, and then behind him, the looks like the 11 of Colton Davis, just nowhere to go, just piles into Shelton as well.
And Phil Diaz got a little piece of that as well, as most of the field is on pit road at this point, and Keegan Leahy is going to be the first one to exit pit road. Ottinger coming to the line with Mr. Luza. Looks like Luza will have that spot. Ottinger, and right behind them, Busa, Alfalla, and the rest of the field making their way off pit road. So the second round of pit stops happening here on lap number 42. For the most of the field, I saw a couple of drivers there that possibly stayed out on the racetrack, but nevertheless, working the caution flag here, as you see Zelensky behind the pace car.
That's what's actually the notable sort of omission from the driver that came down pit road. Bobby Zelensky, after his little half spin, he came down, got 4 tires, so those tires aren't going to be too bad, but he's going to have a lot of people behind him on fresh rubber. How are those tires going to hold up? That's going to be the big question mark, and of course that 24 of Keegan Leahy out there on 2 tires. It's really interesting, Tim. All season long, we have not seen anyone favor track position like this. We've not seen anyone within the first 100, 150, 3/4 of a race really go for a 2-tire call. It's always been 4. People have relatively been safe, but now tonight, Richmond, 43 laps have been scored complete, and we got people not pitting. We got people taking 2-tire strategies all over the place tonight.
And we've seen it play out in a couple of different ways. Obviously, last week or 2 weeks ago at Vegas, we saw that long green flag run to the end. We've also seen some races where we have a rash of caution flags near the end, so I'm sure some of these drivers, especially with seeing lots of green flag racing 2 weeks ago, and only 2 cautions in this race last year, I'm sure there's some crew chiefs and some car chiefs kind of scratching their heads, using the eraser on the notepad and going back and maybe changing some strategies here. And Bobby Zelensky, I'm sure there's a couple of teams that are taking note of what the 83 team is doing here early, but He's been up front this season. He's top 5 in points. Keegan Leahy has been strong. Obviously, Ryan Luza coming off the last 2 races. He's been to victory lane. So there's a lot of muscle up in front of this field. And oh, by the way, Ray Alfala, after using some strategy early, is back up in the top 10. He's currently running in position number 6. So there's another one to watch out for. And Dylan Duval made that strategy work as well. He scored in 9th.
You talk about the crew chiefs having some difficulties with the strategy. I'm pretty sure that between Hastings, Houston Hammer, Stephanie Lessentine, some of these crew chiefs, I'm pretty sure the Google Docs is on fire right now because they're trying to break out the calculator and go, wait, why didn't he pit? Doesn't that mean when is he going to pit? And, you know, everything
Abacus
like
is
that.
getting snapped everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. There might be a keyboard thrown out the window before the end of this. That would not be good.
And not only do you have to watch your strategy, you have to watch those other teams too to see what they're doing and maybe factor that in as well. As you mentioned, I'm sure there's a couple of things being thrown here on those pit boxes, trying to figure out the strategy because we've still got over 150 laps to go here at the Richmond Raceway. And Bobby Zielinski will lead this field to green. There goes the pace car, and there goes Zielinski. Green flag flies, and the Virtual Racing School Ford is gone up in front. Looks like Leahy on the outside will try to take position number 2, and they all fight for 3rd on back.
So you got no tires out in front, 2 tires behind, and 4 tires all the way back. 24, Keegan Leahy gets a run off of corner number 2 and in towards 3. He's down up on the bottom. Going to slide up the racetrack a little bit. Bobby gave him a little bit of room, I think, and knowing that might happen. And they're going to be side by side for the race lead. It's going to be Keegan Leahy by 1,000ths of a second at the stripe as they go in towards 3 and 4. So, while there might be things getting thrown out of anger, right now in terms of strategy, Bobby Zielinski and Keegan Leahy, those guys, they're throwing the kitchen sink at it in terms of strategy.
They're piling it down into the corner, and it looks like Ray Alfala in the 2 has found something. He's rolling the top. He's made the spot up on 34 of Matt Busa, trying to get to the inside by the looks of it, trying not to get stuck behind Zielinski, but the 34 of Busa continues to slide in on that inside to battle with the 2 of Alfala. Could they go 3 wide off corner number 2? Absolutely they will. Down into corner number 3, Zielinski will give up the outside line. He'll give up 2 spots, and Ray Alfala continuing to roll the top.
I think Ray made a lane when there really wasn't one. He had Busa to his inside, Zielinski to his outside, and he had the great onboard shot, and Ray just said, nah, I'm just going to put my car right here, and it worked. So 3-time able to make his own lane. Still got a challenge from Busa down to the inside. Head back to turn 3 and 4, and Busa slides up a little bit, had to get out of the gas, and Alfala might be able to just get the edge. Does Busa send it into 1? Yes, he does. This battle is not over yet.
He just can't shake Busa on the inside line. The 2 of Alfala trying to get that run off these corners and trying to pick up that spot, but isn't able to. Busa gets back into the corner, drives it in deep, and made a little contact there with Alfala. Alfala up the racetrack, and hello, Michael Conti. Conti to the inside, and it looks like he'll pick up 1 position from this, or at least try to. Up in front, Ryan Luza continuing to chase Keegan Leahy, as Alfala will definitely find a spot in the line here behind Conti, and right in front of Dylan Duval, who's in the top 10.
The slip angle Fords have not done very good up along the top, have they? We saw the 83 of Zielinski sort of get sent as out in front. Ryan Michael Luza is going to pick up that race lead coming off corner number 4. So move that number 6 Fusion back up to the point. And well, what a run Ryan Luza has had thus far this season. You think about the pace he had at Phoenix, what he was able to do out at Auto Club. He's had such a fantastic run thus far in this championship. He's really started this series out with an absolute bang.
But how about Nick Ottinger? Ottinger in position number 3, working his way up, started in position number 6, and we haven't seen Ottinger this strong since he went to victory lane in Daytona. So right now in position number 3, looking at 2nd as he dives down to the inside, that Federated Auto Parts 400 Camry, looking to pick up 1 more spot on Keegan Leahy. Try to move himself a little bit closer towards the front of the field. He has that thing hooked up and hauling the mail on the inside line, looking to pick up 2nd.
Yeah, and Tim, talk about motivation. Nick's won here twice. 2013, 2014 went back-to-back there. Not to mention, of course, the sponsor and the team connections with Richmond Raceway. So all the motivation is there for Nick Ottinger to park that 05 in victory lane here tonight and just slides back up in front of Matt Busa, who I think there were a little more outside motivations because earlier Ray kind of moved him out of the way, so he moved Ray out of the way. And right now Conti's kind of in the middle of that, separating those two for the moment.
And Conti continues to come to the front of the field. He's looking to the inside, flashes the nose in the forefront Chevy to the inside of Busa. Busa holds on to the spot for the time being. And single file throughout about your top 5 or so. And there goes Busa looking to roll the top again. We saw that a little bit earlier on this evening. And now the 34 gets close to the 05 of Ottinger. Has to let out of the gas. And Michael Conti looks to the outside as well, at least for the time being. Ray Alfala part of this battle as well. Exciting racing in your top 5 as we cross lap number 56 off our list.
Number 34 car, he's going to have that number 5 of Michael Conti up top to deal with. Michael not getting a great run on that upper groove and real close to the wall. He's going to sort of force it in there, keeps it, does a very good job actually to maintain a bit of overlap through 3 and 4. Will that 34 be able to get cleared? No, he won't. Conti able to pick up the throttle very early, and that number 5 machine associated with Chaos Crew as well. He's trying to get just off the rear bumper of that 05 of his teammate, try to get 2 of those cars up amongst the top 4 positions.
Busa continues to work that inside of the 5 of Michael Conti. Ray Alfala is there in front of them. Ottinger flashes the nose to the inside of Keegan Leahy, trying to work that number 24 over and trying to pick up position number 2. We've seen it a couple of times this evening, but it looks like Ottinger may have the position. Leahy went a little wide down into corner number 1, and Ottinger will move to the runner-up position behind Ryan Luza, who's checked out by about a second. Battle still on for position number 3, as here comes Michael Conti now to the inside of Keegan Leahy. Leahy falling back a little bit here on the short run, and Michael Conti wants to come to the forefront.
I think Leahy was trying to do a little bit of a Kyle Larson crossover move to try to get to the inside of Nick Ottinger there, and it just didn't work. So Busa actually going to fall back there, gives Alfala the position. So those two on more cordial terms, at least for the moment. And side by side now, Conti down to the inside of Leahy. They'll head back to turn number 1. Conti going to send it in. And I think Leahy also missed his entry just a little bit, because he's going to lose that spot to the 5 and nearly lost the inside to Ray Alfala. But Alfala able to hold on to that position for the moment. They head through 3 and 4 once again.
It looks like Leahy has missed the mark a little bit down into corner number 1 in these last couple of laps, but it's allowed Ottinger and Conti to go by in the 05 and the 5, and nails it down into corner number 1 this time with the 2 of Alfala and the 34 of Matt Busa playing chase. This portion of tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Peak Antifreeze and Coolant, the official antifreeze of NASCAR and the proud sponsor of the Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing. Ryan Luza continues to lead up in front, and it's about 3/4 of a second, and the caution flag will fly.
See who it was this time who brought it out. I was getting ready to take a look deeper in the field. Who's that that stopped near pit? So Mullis gets into a little bit of trouble this time. Not a great situation for him. Let's see what happened to that number 27 car. Well, he got sent.
Yeah, he had a little contact.
Yeah, that was the 54 Michael Guest there. Just gets into the left rear, and unlike the incident with Zelensky earlier, he was right in the middle of traffic and nowhere for the 1 to go. And that got very sketchy really quickly there for Marcus Richardson there, Tim. Basically nowhere to go.
Yeah, Marcus Richardson had nowhere to go. Really couldn't see that car sliding down the racetrack, and tough break for Jimmy Mullis. And a part of the Chaos Crew, as is Marcus Richardson, and was looking through notes a little bit earlier on. I know Richmond Raceway Racing Virginia closed in tight together. 3 of the drivers on the Chaos Crew have raced a legend car before on the short tracks as well. Jimmy Mullis racing a car for Joe Ryan Osborne in the past, as it looks like the field is coming on to pit road. That pace car is fairly lonely out on the racetrack, as they'll come down for service here on lap number 65.
What's going to happen now in terms of strategy? We've seen teams do everything thus far. 2 right sides. We've seen no stoppers. It seems like everyone is pretty much coming down pit road this time. Shelton, actually no, Colton Davis in the 11 is going to go right past pit entry and cycle out in front. I think for the most part we should see people get 4 tires. What's that 83 of Bobby Zelensky going to do? Looks like he's going to go for the more traditional 4-tire stop as well. He's running about mid-pack after where he came out last time, but I think he wants to finally get on fresh tires. He got, I think, a bit of that track position back that he was looking for. There's a little bit of a conundrum coming off pit road. One driver, the number 8, had to swing way up the racetrack, almost got the 12 of Nick Shelton.
And Adam Gilliland will slide up that racetrack and get back into line. The one driver that's going to lose a couple of spots here, guys, is Keegan Leahy. And we talked about Ryan Luza's problem 2 weeks ago at Las Vegas on a green flag pit stop. He came onto pit road and just overshot his box. Keegan Leahy pretty much did the same thing coming down onto pit road. Not as bad as Ryan Luza did under green at Vegas, but he did overshoot the box, had to back that thing up. And he went from position number 4 all the way back to about position number 8 here, as we'll get ready to go green momentarily. So looks like he's got some work to do. And speaking about work to do, Logan Clampett is in the top 10 in the Richmond Raceway number 46. We saw him a little bit earlier this season working on the wheel, and we've seen some other drivers on our in-car cameras or our onboard cameras working, and I think Logan Clampett is probably the happiest driver of all of them that we've rode on board with him this year. Well, yeah, absolutely, right?
It's no comment.
I'm sure he's smiling on that onboard under caution, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
Well, that's not a smile.
We can take a look. Yeah, let's take a look.
That's all.
Oh, that's not a smile. No, it's gone. Now it's back on again. Oh, come on, Logan, just smile for us. What are you doing, man?
He's in the top 10. He started in position number 20, so he should have a little bit of a smile on his face, but I'm sure he'll have one when he pulls his Richmond Raceway car into victory lane later tonight, right? That's his goal.
Hey, you can't. Everyone can't be Richard Petty, who's just a constant smile, and the muscles are basically just frozen at that point. At this point in that position. So for Logan, he's still getting there. Young kid, was very, very racy last season, and he's doing a great job tonight. Up 13. We've seen a good start to the season from him. I don't think he's been quite as far up the field the way he would have liked in some of these races, but he's always been competitive, and he's been up amongst the top 10, which really in this phase of the championship, that's what you need just to get things on the right foot.
Yeah, runner-up in this series last year, 3-time Class C fixed champion. He's tested a dirt-focused midget at Ventura Raceway and a senior in high school. So we talk about the young guns working their way up through the ranks in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. Logan Clampett doing the same here in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series and wants to get that win here at Richmond Raceway for the Chaos Crew. But he's got a couple of Chaos Crew members in front of him. There's Nick Ottinger on the inside of row number 2, and then on the outside of the first row is Michael Conti in car number 5, but they're all chasing that 6 car. Ryan Luza is your leader in the Fast Track Sims Ford. The iRacing pace car peels off here, and here comes the field at a corner number 4, bringing them down a little bit slower this time, but now he's on the hammer. Ryan Luza will send this field down into corner number 1, and then it's the Chaos Crew side by side behind with Ottinger on the inside of Conti.
Yeah, and Ottinger got a little bit loose with the car hooked up and off at turn number 2. Ottinger just going to clear Conti, but Conti doesn't have much of a luxury there as Ray Alfala going to fire it in on the inside for the twister. And off turn number 4, you can see the 5 kind of stuck on the outside, not the preferred line, at least on the restart, because Alfala is trucking through right now, and he's up to P3 looking for more. Right behind Ottinger is Busa now going to jump to the inside of Conti.
We've seen Conti wind up that outside line, but it's taken a couple laps after the restart to do so. He'll fall in to line right in front of Busa behind the first side-by-side battle. It's Logan Clampett on the outside and Dylan Duval on the inside doing a great job so far within the top 10. And don't look now, here comes Zach Novak, here comes Taylor Hurst. 2 strong drivers at Richmond looking to make their way up towards the front at the halfway point of this race. And there's Keegan Leahy after that pit stop issue. He's going to lose one more spot here by the looks of it. Here comes Corey Vincent.
Bottom's going to be where you want to be here on the new tires. It's when the rubber starts to go away a little bit that you want to be able to wind up the top. But I'm really interested to see, now that we have Ottinger following Conti, they've cycled their way to the top 4, second, third, and fourth. Those 2 Chaos Crew cars and the slip angle car of Alfala, they were very good on the old rubber about 10 laps into that run. I want to see if they can really make lose a sweat over the course of this run, as they're nearly going to go 3 wide behind. That's Duval, Clampett, and Zach Novak checking into that fight, as Clampett had to go way up the racetrack, and I think he's going to drop a spot to that 15.
Yeah, I'm sure Clampett's not too happy. That last run at a corner number 4, the 42 with Duval, the 46 of Logan Clampett, came close to that corner number 4 wall, and it allowed the 42 to pick up the spot for the time being. Logan Clampett is going to reset himself right in front of that 15 of Zach Novak, and side by side behind them, Keegan Leahy. You got the 74 of Taylor Hurst also going at it, as Ryan Luza continues to lead up in front about 0.4 of a second. This is the closest battle on the racetrack right now, near the front of the field.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a bottleneck as Schoenberg got a little bit loose, and meanwhile their accordion is Leahy's trying to defend the outside, Hurst trying to defend the inside, and they'll be side by side in front as well, so battling all over the place. That's Novak and Clampett going at it, but they'll single file out there, and then side by side behind him as well, one of the 2 drivers we haven't really talked much about tonight, Chris Sherberg and Jake Sturgis going at it, and that's for 17th as we come out of turn number 4, and then side by side right in front of those guys, Chris Overland, the 47, 29, Brandon Pipgrass trying to recover here. That car coming off turn number 2, gonna get a little bit close. They hold on to it.
Chris Overland is due for a top 5 in this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series. He's working his way a little closer towards the front, picks up that position on Pipgrass, and here comes Brian Schoenberg, the double nickel, working the inside of the 29 of Pipgrass. As we work on lap number 77, Bergeron having a great run as well. You see him out there in that gray 02 car. trying to pick up a couple of spots is looking back from Overland. You saw Schoenberg getting a little bit closer in the rear view mirror as Sturgis still battling with Shearburn. Lots of great battles here mid-pack.
Yeah, I'm really watching this O2 machine of Bergeron right now. Some of the other qualifiers with some of the various other world championships have come to a close. Notable one, of course, the World of Outlaws sprint cars and the late model. The O2 of Alex Bergeron is probably the best dirt racer on the sim right now, and I'm not surprised to see him making moves like this on the 29 of Brandon Pipgrass. Really shoved the nose down there into 3 and 4. Will he be able to make this stick? He's going to get down to there back into 1 and 2. Should be able to just about get clear. No, the 29 of Pipgrass is going to do a good job, but with all the sprint car running we've seen from Bergeron lately, also some super lates and modifieds as well. Not surprised to see that O2 running strong here at Richmond.
And continuing to work that inside on Pipgrass. Pipgrass on the outside holding his own. That's the battle for position number 15 as we continue to work around this Richmond Raceway. Christian Chalner making his way towards the front on the inside as well. And now Jake Sturgis has joined this battle in a car number 41, multi-time winner here on the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series. Continues to be Luza up in front, but this battle is quite entertaining as they come out of 4. Pipgrass has it, but hello Sturgis, the 41 car, looks behind the 29.
And meanwhile, battling way up in front of those guys, it's basically a 4-car pack, or it was, and then they go single file as soon as I mention it. But it's a 4-car pack nonetheless. Novak, 24 of Leahy, the 46 of Clampin, the 42 of Duvall. We're all going at it there for a little bit. They're going to all go single file, so never mind on that one.
As they get single file once again, that battle continues to rage on behind. There's Jake Sturgis, who rode on board with the 41 of Sturgis a couple laps ago and really got that run into the corner, but really no place to put it. You can't go into the back of the 29 car. You got to go around him and you can't go through him. It's got to be frustrating being boxed in a little bit there and really can't make that move.
Well, you say you can't go through them at a racetrack like Richmond. That rule might just change here once we get closer to lap number 183 as opposed to 83. He's going to try to wind it up around the outside of Alex Bergeron as the rubber's going away. The top groove is really coming in, and he's going to be able to pick that spot up. It's well done there by Sturgis moving forward. We're actually going to get a caution on the racetrack. Maybe a secondary incident as well. The 27th on the wall of 1 and 2. That's Jimmy Mullis. I think Colton Davis was a part of that as well.
And you saw the 16 of Nolan Scott on your screen as well, too. So the yellow flag will fly once again, just shy of the halfway point. And we'll see what happened here to bring out this caution flag. And it could be multiple incidents. Nolan Scott, Colton Davis. Davis just got a glancing blow of that one. Adam Gilliland and Nolan Scott running side by side. And looks like Adam got the run into the corner. And a little contact there on the straightaway. Adam back down to the 16 of Scott and back out to the racetrack. Nowhere to go. And Davis and the 27 car get a little piece of that as well. It's been a tough night if you're Colton Davis.
Yeah, and how about the hit by Nolan Scott? A massive impact on the inside wall, and also for the 11 and the 27 as well. Mullis kind of got away out there. Could have been worse, but I mean, that's still a heavily damaged car. And as for Colton Davis, talk about out of nowhere on that one. That's a huge hit for him as well, but bring out another caution here.
And he couldn't go anywhere to avoid that one, as we'll see these cars come back down onto pit road as you take one more look at it. The 11, nowhere to go. Couldn't go to the outside because the 27 car was already there. As the race off pit road will happen, and it looks like Nick Ottinger may pick up a couple of spots here, as will Ray Alfala. Ryan Luza falls back to position number 3 off of pit road, or at least the race off pit road. And that could shake things up here when we go back green.
This is actually what I was going to talk about and bring up before we went to yellow there, is that the 6 of Luza, without those Chaos Crew cars and the slip angle car of Ray Alfala, Ryan Luza was not running away the way he was when it was like the Keegan Lee and others out in front of him. Now, or excuse me, behind him. That said, the 24 of Keegan Lee, he cycled into the race lead here. I believe he did not come down pit road, so he will likely lead us to green unless he decides to make a late pit stop. But we've not really seen that 6 of Ryan Michael Luza have to drive through the field in order to pick up a win yet this season. The victories that he has had, he's pretty much just gotten out in front and pretty much checked out and dominated here in the last couple rounds at Fontana and at Vegas.
And he'll look to pick up one more win here and add one more to the total. Obviously, Ray Alfala is leading the points in this series, but Ryan Luza has been racking up the victories. Ray has just been so gosh darn consistent this year. And with this racetrack being among his favorites, wouldn't surprise me if he finally puts a strike in the win column for 2018, but he's got some strong competition. Ottinger has been quick all night long. We'll start on the outside of row number 1 by the looks of it. Conti is there, and it looks like Bergeron, maybe a little bit of pit road magic has worked his way up into the top 10.
And I mean, also keep in mind that Luz is going for the Kyle Busch effect here and trying to go 3 in a row. So you've got that motivation for the 6th car as well, not to mention, of course, it's Ryan Luz. Of course he wants to win. He's won so many races over the past 2 seasons that you just don't want to stop him.
As we are getting ready to go back to green flag racing, and the 24 of Keegan Leahy getting ready to put the hammer down, and we are back underway. Love those engine sounds around this Richmond Raceway, and it's been an exciting 2 laps after the restart. Nick Ottinger got the boot, fell back a couple laps, and we talked about Alex Bergeron's dirt experience. He saved it up off of 1 and 2, but he lost a couple of spots there. He's battling with Casey Kerwin now, but that could have been very large in a hurry. Bergeron now rolling the top of the outside.
While the 02's making moves, the 2 is as well. He goes to the inside of the 24 of Keegan Lee, so move 3 time out in front here at Richmond. That VRS Ford Fusion is going to lead him in towards 3 and 4. He's going to lead some of his first laps here tonight. Let's see what he can do now that he gets out in some clean air. We've seen him be quick working through traffic. Can he make that same magic work out in front?
Alfala will now be able to pace this race up in front. Leahy back to 2nd, and there's Michael Conti in the 5 in position number 3. Looks racy off corner number 2, gets a great run, and points that number 5 to the outside line. Keegan Leahy on the inside. Can Conti get to the top side and take that runner-up position away from the 24 car? Down into corner number 1, he'll sail it on in, and it looks like Michael Conti will pick up one more spot. Question is, can he reel in Ray Alfala?
And what's interesting, guys, is we're starting to see that bottom line rubber in. You saw Conti was able to make the move to the outside. Now you see Luza kind of think about it. I don't think he timed that the way he wanted to. Kind of changed his mind halfway going through the turn. But now you see the 46 behind them. Logan Clampett as well as doing Duval up there on the top side. And, well, it looks like Leahy tried to make it work, but once again, just wasn't able to grab his corner entry there. And Luza just going to fly right by. But you see some of these drivers starting to move up, searching around, trying to find that grip.
Ottinger continues to work the inside, trying to pick up a couple spots that he lost off the restart. He's battling with fellow Chaos crewmate Logan Clampett. Clampett on the outside, and it looks like Ottinger will be boxed in by Dylan Duval. Duval moves to the outside, and keep in mind that the 42 with Duval, the 05 of Ottinger, they've had a history so far this season, actually dating back to last season as well. So it's a short track. We've seen the chrome horn used a couple of times. We'll see if everything stays cordial between those two as they battle with Logan Clampett for the spot.
Yeah, that number 42 car, Dylan Duval, he's probably looking in his mirror. He says he sees Chaos Crew to one side, Chaos Crew to the other. They're going to work themselves in towards corners number 3 and 4. And Ottinger working the bottom, Logan working the top. They still are just so even just throughout the entirety of this racetrack. That bottom groove's sort of gone away, and now the 46 is going to be able to pick that spot up on the 05. Just looking out in front, the fight for the race lead. And Michael Conti, he wants to lead some laps here for the Chaos Crew. He goes to the outside of Ray Alfala, and we got two series champions from the past here duking it out for the lead lap positions here at Richmond.
A colossal confrontation up in front of the field with the 5 of Conti to the outside of the 2 of Alfala. Two drivers that have had success here before at the Richmond Raceway. Alfala's won a couple of races. Conti's led a ton of laps here. Conti looking to get to victory lane and bring it home for the Chaos Crew. There's still a long way to go. We're 2 laps shy of the halfway point, but to the top of the board goes Michael Conti. Conti will lead it. Alfala continues to work that inside line, and if they continue to work side by side, they're going to close in Ryan Luza.
And we talked about the battle between the young guns and the veterans. It seems weird to call Mike Conti a veteran because, you know, he is one of still the younger drivers in this series, but absolutely driving like his championship season right now. To the lead he goes, and Alfala is going to have to hold off Luza, who is really one of the young guns despite the fact he's been racing here for a very long time. So Luza right now on the back bumper of Alfala, trying to size him up and maybe try and go to the outside. You can see him running just about a third of a groove higher than Alfala on the onboard shot as we cross start-finish line there, and just crossing the halfway point at this point at Richmond.
And getting to the halfway point on this night, this evening, we'll bring up the midway race break here, presented by iRacing, as we get ready to go through the field for you. And of course, this portion of the program is brought to you by Herculiner Bedliner. The tough comes easy as we get ready to go through the field, developed from the beginning as a centralized racing and competitive service. iRacing organizes, hosts, and officiates races on virtual tracks all around the world. In the fast-paced world of esports, iRacing is a one-stop shop for online racing with officially sanctioned racing from NASCAR and many more. Michael Conti is your leader. Took the lead about 4 laps ago and leads Ray Alfala. Ryan Luza working on his back bumper. Keegan Leahy in position at number 4, and then Dylan Duval holding on to a top 5 run in a position at number 5. But Logan Clampett and Nick Ottinger going side by side right behind him. Matt Busa, Taylor Hurst, and Zach Novak currently complete your top 10.
Looking a little bit deeper down the field, Bobby Zielinski. What an up and down night this guy has had. We've seen him out on the front row. We've seen him down at the back of the field. He's in 11th, double nickels. In 12th, Brian Schoenberg, Chris Overland. In 13th, Christian Challoner. In 14th, 15th is Casey Kerwin with Pipgrass, Blake Reynolds, Michael Guest, Corey Vincent, and Chris Shearburn. They round out your top 20.
You got Brad Davies running 21st, 22nd is Jake Sturgis, Nicholas Shelton running 23rd, 24th to Jimmy Mullis, Marcus Richardson running 25th with Andrew Fash the 3rd, 26th, Casey Tugger 27th, Joe Letterello is running 28th with Ryan Lowe 29th, AG8, Adam Gilliland running 30th.
And completing your field, it's David Rattler, Alex Bergeron, Phil Diaz, Nolan Scott, and Colton Davis. And at this point in the race, every driver is on the racetrack, and every driver is currently scored on the lead lap in this one. That's been a look at your iRacing Midway Race Break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, visit iRacing.com to sign up today. Great racing action here from the Richmond Raceway as Michael Conti continues to pace his field up in front. But I think the most entertaining battle here, guys, has been the Dylan Duval, Nick Ottinger, Matt Busa, and Logan Clampett battle. They just can't seem to get away from each other.
Yeah, they can't really get it sorted, can they? Every time someone picks a lane, someone else goes somewhere else and inserts themselves. We've seen drivers go to the bottom, other drivers go to the top. We just saw that 46 of Clampett. He slid up the racetrack as the 05 of Ottinger was able to get the drive down on the bottom of the 42. But I think Cisco's right. We talked about it a little bit earlier. That bottom groove is really kind of over-rubbered in, and that I think sort of second lane is where you want to be right now. You see a lot of cars, even running by themselves, are running up a groove from where they would have been early on in this. I think give it another 50 laps, let that second groove run in, and I think that bottom is going to come back.
And these guys showing a lot of patience, especially a guy like Nick Ottinger on the inside. He's been fighting the inside of Clampett for the last 5 laps or so. He's been battling with Duval, his teammate right behind him, and Busa up the racetrack a little bit of a wide entry into 3, and it's going to shove Logan Clampett up the hill. Busa right behind him, almost a little bit of contact there. Ottinger slides up in front of the 46 of Logan Clampett. The 2 Chaos Crew teammates per se is looks like Ottinger going to go to the inside of the 24 of Keegan Leahy. As I said, patience. It looks like some of it may have just went out the window.
And as Lou Oleski put in chat, I think that sums it up perfectly. He loves watching the racing on this track, but can't stand racing on it because it's so hard to pass, especially with that bottom groove as rubbered up as it is. And Ottinger trying to go for more, trying to clear Leahy as they come out at turn number 2. Not quite, though. Still got the quarter panel right there, and Leahy hanging tough on that outside.
Dylan Duval is loving this. He's pulling away a little bit. Busa looked at 3 wide in the middle between Leahy and Clampett. He'll go to the inside and make it 3 wide. Why not? Down into corner number 1. The 24 of Leahy pulls his foot out of it a little bit to get it back to 2 wide. Ottinger is going to go to work on Dylan Duval. Watch that little battle as they run down the back straightaway. Some exciting racing going on here at the midway point of this Richmond Raceway 200 as we continue to work down the front straightaway. Duval going to have that position, and don't look now. T-Dog, Taylor Hurst, and you got Zach Novak a part of the battle as well.
Yeah, with them being side by side for as long as they have, I think they've likely worked the tires pretty hard, and that's bringing some other guys into this fight. We've seen Keegan Leahy check into this, and of course Zach Novak. Also have the 83 of Bobby Zielinski not far back as well. So some more names getting into this in what was a 2 to 3 car pack for, let's be real, last 15 to 20 laps. quickly turning into a 6 to 7 car train here that's 2 by 2 by 2. And what fantastic racing this Richmond circuit is putting on tonight. This has, I think, probably been the most exciting race overall this season for all the battles it's generated up and down the field. The way that bottom groove has come in has really facilitated some good racing as Ottinger and Duvall continue to fight. And meanwhile, out in front, Michael Conti, he's doing his best Luza impression. He's checked out by a second.
We heard earlier Michael Conti has some fans watching this race this evening, and I'm sure they are happy to see Conti out in front by a second. But this battle here, contact between Ottinger and Duvall, we've seen this battle play out before, and it hasn't turned out well for the 05 and the 42. Now Busa to the inside. Keep in mind, Busa is a teammate of Ottinger at Gale Force Sim Racing. The 42 to the inside, or at least tried to get on the inside of that 05. They both go up the hill. It enters the 46 of Clampett to the inside, and the 34 of Busa. We talked about this being short track racing and the tempers overflowing a little bit. I think they're starting to hit a breaking point in that 42 and the 05.
I think that's 2 now for Duvall and Ottinger. So next one, you guys know the 3 strike rule, or the 3, you knock on the door 3 times. The first one says hello, the second one says I'm here, the third one is get out of my way. So if Duvall gets back to the 05, that might be what happens. But as far as Busa, having seen him drive in the series at Phoenix, he probably hasn't said anything on the radio all day, apart from maybe 2 sentences, and it's just quiet concentration, meanwhile behind the wheel of the 34 Camry.
And the one thing I'm seeing outside of this battle as well, Randy, yes, the 05 of Ottinger, the 42 of Duvall, we're playing up that little battle because it's been going on since last season. But it looks like Keegan Leahy's losing a little bit of that battle right now. He's fallen off the pace just a little bit, a couple of car lengths. Got Zielinski right behind him. Zach Novak and Taylor Hurst are there, but it looks like Keegan Leahy's losing a little bit here in the long run.
It's important to remember that number 24 car, he's out there on older tires. It was a bit of a strategy call from him at the last pit stop that got him out near the front of the field, and I think that's probably why he's starting to fall back here, because this is the longest green flag run we've had. So if you're out there on old tires, this is when you would expect them to really start dropping off, and because of that, you might expect the 24 car, because I believe he stayed out at the last caution. I'll check that just to get my facts straight, but if that is the case, he'll likely have to start thinking about fuel here sooner rather than later, potentially.
74 of Hirsch taking a look to the inside of Novak and taking a little peek to the inside of Dylan Duvall's number 42 car as they come up at a corner number 4. Taylor Hirsch trying to move his way into position number 8. Novak occupies that position on the outside, and they're closing in on Logan Clampett as well. A couple car lengths ahead in that car number 46. Michael Conti continues to stretch his legs out in front. 1.8 seconds between himself and Ray Alfala, all by himself. Picking up laps, leading laps here this evening. Ray Alfala has Ryan Luza about 2 car lengths or so behind him, and then the battle rages on for position number 4 between teammates. Ottinger takes it away from Busa. Busa playing chase, and then that battle right behind with Duvall, Novak, and the rest of them just inside the top 10.
And we're kind of talking a little bit about it in chat, but the rule I mentioned, the 3 knock rule, comes from the late driver Ted Christopher out in the modifieds out in the Northeast. But yeah, you've hit the guy in the back bumper the first time, that lets him know, hey, I'm here. Second time is, yeah, excuse me, I would like to get by. Third time is, oh yeah, you're getting sent in the wall. As Novak not going to be able to or need to use any of that on Dylan Duvall, as he's able to get by. So meanwhile, right in front of them, actually no, we'll stay with this battle because Duvall thought about going into the inside, wasn't able to make it happen though, but he's going to send it into 1, and I think missed his entry a little bit there, but he's got that outside line trying to work for him. But Duvall now going to lose out that inside, as here comes Taylor Hurst to the inside.
Taylor Hurst to the inside, and just in front of them, Matt Busa taking a look to the inside as well, trying to pick up a spot on Ottinger. It closes in Logan Clampett in the 46 car. This is the battle for position number 4, and the caution flag is out on 125.
Let's see where this one would have came from. Oh, we got the double nickel. He's got a pop motor on the front straightaway. Brian Schoenberg. What has befallen that number 55 car? And that looked like to be a pretty heavy hit. Oh, little contact with the 47 of Chris Overland. And, oh, I don't know. That may have been the 3rd knock coming there from that number 55 car, because that was a pretty late hit for someone to be given on someone on the exit of corner number 4.
Yeah, going into corner number 3, Overland gets into the back bumper a little bit. 1, 2, 3, little tap, and Brian Schoenberg into the wall in corner number 4. And not much Schoenberg could do with that number 55 car as it got a little light coming off of that 4th corner. So the caution flag is out, and tough break for the Heyman Hustle, looking for Larry number 55 as he'll have to retire for the evening. I know he was looking forward to this one, and he'll have to rebound in 2 weeks' time when we go to the Kansas Speedway for round number 6. Field is on pit road. Michael Conti had a big lead, and we'll see if he can keep it on pit road. Alfala, Luza, Busa, Ottinger, and the rest are all coming down.
Yep, and I've got to think after a run this long, Randy, it's going to be 4 tires on the docket for pretty much anybody. I wouldn't want to be that guy out there on 2 tires.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think there's any way you take any less than 4 tires right here. It's such a long run, and really, I mean, you're thinking also possibly about fuel. 73 some odd laps to go to the end as field's going to start rolling off towards the exit of pit road. You really want to have the fuel to get there. I think Matt Busa may have taken the 3rd spot away. I think Luza got up to 2nd, and I think Alfala, he fell back to 4th.
It looks like Ray Alfala is going to come off in 4th place, and he and Michael Conti pitting on the front straightaway per se instead of the rounded area coming down into corner number 1 at the end of pit road. And Conti got a great launch out of his box, and he'll end up maintaining that lead off of pit road, and he'll lead our field to green when we do see that green flag once again. And Ryan Luza going to be strong as well. Busa, Alfala, and it looks like Logan Clampett may have moved up 1 spot as well into that top 5.
Yeah, he has, and the pit stops has benefited a couple more drivers. Pointing out, look at the number 66 of Blake Reynolds. I guess it's chicken tenders time because he's worked his way up through the field right now. It's a great pit stop for him. Michael Guest kind of rebounding after the incident he was involved in earlier. And Christian Challenger, Brad Davies, a couple more drivers who are making their way into the picture for the top 15 right now. So keep an eye on some of those drivers.
Interesting strategy from the number 11. It's already kind of cut in here, but Colton Davis, he went sort of an extra lap and then came down pit road. Actually, no, I take that back. I think he was getting repairs. Actually, no, he skipped the box the first time and then came down pit road. So could Colton maybe be looking at a potential fuel window as he came back down pit road once again? Because he's on the lead lap the whole time, so I don't know why he wouldn't have came down with the rest of the leaders.
The question is, though, how many of these crew chiefs that we talked about earlier that might have thrown some strategy out the window early because of cautions, how many of those guys are now banking on a couple of caution flags as we look at Logan Clampett getting ready to go back to green?
How many crew chiefs are in the session tonight? Because pretty much all of them, if I were to guess.
Probably more crew chiefs than drivers.
We did see at Las Vegas 100 laps plus green at the end of that race, so we can see some green flag racing. And we saw with Ray Alfala last week talking about the respect between these drivers. Could very well happen here tonight at the Richmond Raceway. We've got 70 laps to go. Green flag flies. Conti is gone. Great start for Conti. Outside line backing up a little bit behind Ryan Luza. Alfala already looking to the outside of the 6 car. Busa to the inside as they'll go side by side. Close quarters off 2.
Well, if Robert Heist thinking about retiring, John Forrest could sign that number 5 car, because what a jump from Michael Conti. But number 6, Luther, has really responded. Michael had a huge gap between corners number 1 and 2, and Luther has, in a blink of an eye, erased all of that advantage, and now he's going to look to the upper groove, maybe thinking of making something happen. Meanwhile, behind the 34 of Busa, he's fighting wheel to wheel, as well as Logan Clamp, but he's still fighting with a teammate, the 05 of Nick Ottinger, and you have Zach Novak there. Has the 05 of Ottinger, has he had a single lap without a car beside him in the last 100? I think he's been side by side for the majority of this race.
He's probably been one of the busiest drivers in Virginia so far here this evening as he looks underneath Logan Clampett. Once again, that battle for the lead back to single file formation, but here comes Ryan Luza again, gets that great launch down to the corner, and it looks like Michael Conti into turn 3 at least takes that second groove, or the groove and a half up from the apron, leaves the door open for Ryan Luza, but Ryan can't seem to set up that pass and make it stick down on that inside line. Conti just has enough to make that happen for the lead position. We see it here down at the corner number 3, and as I say that, he sticks that thing down to that yellow line.
And look at the run Alfala got. It was almost like he had about 50 more horsepower than Luza did coming off the corner. But we talked about that line being rubbered up. Is Luza going to get all kinds out of shape coming out of turn number 2? What on earth happened there? I don't know if those tires are like deflated or something, but Luza's car all of a sudden looks very unhappy.
And Busa had to take evasive action as well to let that 6 car back into line after that slide, and now the 34 will go to work. He'll go to the inside of the Fast Track Sims Ford, and they'll dance off corner number 2 down the back straightaway. Luza has that spot again for the time being.
We got a pop motor in the back. I don't know who that is. That may have been the 83 Zielinski. It looked like an orange car.
54, Guest.
That's a tough break for Michael Guest. Had a couple of good runs here so far and a lot of damage to the front end of that race car, and that will draw the caution flag. Michael Guest had a top 5 run here a couple of weeks ago, and was looking pretty good, but a little bit of damage to the back. Letteriello is around on the back as well on that replay. See what happened here. It's already blown up at this point. A little bit of contact back there. The 57 going around, but the 54, Michael Guest, tough break for him.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think, Randy, that was the 57 going around is what brought that out, but it looks like Guest had damage prior that caused that motor to expire. I thought maybe he downshifted the car on accident or something, but it just looks like the damage was just too much.
Yeah, I think it was sort of, it's just one of those situations going into the corner. I think the smoke started actually coming. I think they were the same incident. Like, I think the motor popping is related to the 57 spinning, but of course iRacing, it doesn't have oil that's getting put down on the racetrack. But I think that 57 likely saw the smoke in front of him and may have just yoinked the wheel or done something weird on the pedals and really let that car go around. Because when that 57 spun, it's just a little bit after that motor popped on Michael Guest. So it might be, you know, sort of chained together, but definitely wasn't contact between those two that caused that motor to pop. And, you know, unfortunate for Michael Guest because he's been strong this far this season. We've seen him have several good runs.
Randy, did you pick up the abacus that you dropped earlier in the race?
No, it shattered. It shattered.
Okay.
There's beads everywhere.
Okay, because Ray Alfalo and Michael Conti further complicated this. They were down on pit road on this caution flag, so they will start probably about mid-pack or so, because there's not a whole lot of cars that really join them down on pit road. Keegan Leahy is back there as well, but you got Ryan Luza, Matt Busa, Zach Novak, Nick Ottinger, and Logan Clampett as your top 5 staying out on the racetrack. So now we have 2 differing strategies. Is this related to fuel at all?
It's the only thing I can think of. They didn't do enough running, I think, to make it worth it on the tires to give up this much track position. You got to think, we've seen this slip angle guys all night. They've been favoring track position to the point where they're taking 2 tires, they're staying out. Talk about the 83 Zelensky having a half spin, completely killing all 4 of those tires, and then coming, opting to even not come down pit road. So for a group that's been favoring track position, in order for them, after only about 3 miles or so, to come down, get fuel, get tires, and get back out on the racetrack and cycle in at the back of the field, because it was Alfala, Overland, and I believe Zelensky, who are the 3 drivers all on pit road, have that many from a group come down. I think they're going for strategy, and you know what? I think I like this, because if it goes all the way to the green, if it goes green all the way to the checkers, if they can go to the end from here, they're looking golden. And even if there's a yellow and relative, 10-15 laps when most of the field think about pitting, you can potentially just make another strategy call again, take 2 tires, and suddenly you're back up at the front of the field. They've done it enough times tonight to know that it'll work. So I think this gives some flexibility to slip angle, and a little surprised that none of the other teams are going to respond. And at this point, because they haven't responded, hands are a little bit forced.
And looking down here at the list, we talked about on our midway race break that every driver was on the racetrack and every driver on the lead lap. We are almost to the final quarter of this race, and we only have 2 drivers that are sitting down there on pit road. It's Michael Guest and Colton Davis. Everybody else, the other 33 drivers, are on the racetrack and are on the lead lap right now. So when you talk about a short track, not a whole lot of attrition piling up here with closing in on 60 laps to go.
No, there isn't, Tim, but I think someone did forget to tell Randy he's not allowed to use graphing calculators or Inspire calculators here on the broadcast.
I'm not highly educated enough to use calculators at all. I count with my toes.
1, 2, I guess whatever works, right? So we get
as long as you can do fuel mileage, you're good, right?
Yeah, exactly. Carry the 1 over, and we're good to go as we get ready to go back to green flag racing. There's Luza, and he is gone on this restart. Busa now in position number 2 and under fire from Zach Novak. Where did Dylan Duval come from? To the inside, little contact, and they're going to slide up the racetrack. Are they going to save this thing? Oh, wow, what a save by Logan Clampett.
Somebody signed those guys up for Formula Drift, because that was well wheeled by that number 46 of Logan Clampett. I wish we would have had the face cam up for that, because I doubt there would have been a smile on that individual's face right there. They're going to still run here through the field. The 46, I think with the tires getting that hot, he's fallen back just a little bit, but it was very well held by that number 46 car. Well, meanwhile, out in front, one driver who's suddenly gotten really racy, that number 34 with a radical scheme, Matt Busa. He's harassing Ryan Luza for this race lead. Busa wants to get his way back to the top step on the podium here in NASCAR PEAK Antifreeze iRacing Series competition. Loses way up the racetrack. Busa's going to have a run. Will Busa be able to pick it up? Move that 34 to the race lead.
Matt Busa, what a move on Ryan Luza. He'll come up at a corner number 4. He'll lead lap 143. And now Luza on his back bumper. Little ways back to Novak, Dylan Duval, and Taylor Hurst is now in the top 5. And don't look now, Blake Reynolds and Casey Kerwin battling amongst themselves. We have a caution on the speedway.
Looking back to see what the issue is, I see the 8 car was slow on the apron. Might have been some issues there. Take a second look at the replay. Yeah, it looks like, no, it was a little bit in front. Problems with Andrew Fash and David Rattler are going to get a little bit of contact there going into the turn, and just kind of ran out of racing room once again. Take a look at it.
Oh, no, never mind. I was wrong.
It looks like Adam Gilliland goes around late in this one as well, but Rattler, Sturgis, Fayash, and I think at the very end of this one, you're going to see, is that Bergeron maybe getting into the back of Gilliland? No harm, no foul, I don't think, for most of those guys. A little bit of a heavy contact there, a little bit of front-end damage to Sturgis's car as he'll have to come down and then probably get that thing massaged as we continue to work under this caution flag. And it looks like Matt Busa is going to stay out on this racetrack and lead, and we'll see if he can continue to hold on and possibly win this thing at the Richmond Raceway. We're going to step away for just a few moments' time. We talked about the young talent a little bit earlier working their way up through the ranks, and of course we've seen it in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series ranks as well.
Things can get rough out there.
The bumper to the back of the 24!
You think you got the brass?
I proved it last season.
That was last year. Now we've got young blood ready to take out the old. Start your engines. It's time to race.
.53 laps remaining here at the Richmond Raceway, and Matt Busa trying to etch his name into the record books as a winner here at this famed short track. Ryan Luza, Zach Novak, Dylan Duval, and Taylor Hurst trying to get to victory lane for the first time here at Richmond. Obviously, Ryan Luza has won a couple of races so far this season, past season's champion, looking to get into Richmond Raceway victory lane, and we'll find out here in just over 50 laps who will join the win list. That includes Ray Alfala, Kenny Humpy, Nick Ottinger, Steve Sheehan, and the inaugural series champion Richard Towler as we continue to work under caution. And Randy and Cisco along with me. Let's talk about this race so far. These last 53 laps I think are going to be intense.
It's going to be crazy, and I mean it's just been a strategy race all the way. It's been one of the most interesting peak races I've ever watched in terms of the strategy. People taking 2 tires, people not staying out, and it's already, and we saw it at the last yellow with the slip angle cars coming down pit road, and it just happened again. A number of drivers pit late on the caution period. I saw the 05 Avantinger. I think there was about 10 cars that came down pit road on the second time available going past it. So a lot of interesting strategy coming through here as we're getting ready to restart this thing.
So we'll get ready to get these guys side by side and back to racing. And the one thing that we saw in that last restart, Cisco, we saw Dylan Duval go for broke down into corner number 1. He starts on the outside of row number 2. Is it the time that we start to see the sense of urgency from some of these guys?
Yeah, we got 50 to go, and I don't know if Duval's going to be able to do much on the outside, but if there's room, I would not be surprised if he goes for a couple more positions here. But one car to keep note of is that 66 of Blake Reynolds, who has basically cut his way through this field. We didn't talk about him in the first half of the race, but how about recovery for 66?
Casey Kerwin, Brandon Pipgrass also in the top 10 after starting outside the top 20. Busa is gone on this restart. Green flag flies. Owen Hurst and Kerwin get into it down on that inside line. We'll see if we can get it back to 2 wide racing down into corner number 1. Pipgrass in the middle. He's got Reynolds on the outside. Somehow they're back to side-by-side racing. It's all behind Matt Busa, though, as he leads him down into 3.
This is the second restart where I think we should have junked about 30 cars in this field, and we end up junking none of them. Great job by those guys to hold on to that as the sixth machine of Ryan Michaeluza. He wants that second spot over the 15 of Zach Novak. He has what was the prime line earlier on, but on the semi-coolish tires, the bottom groove is going to work out. And Zach Novak, he's going to be able to just nose the 6 of Luza coming through corners number 3 and 4, but the momentum should be up top for Ryan Michaeluza, but he will not actually lead that position. The 15's hooked up on the bottom as Busa is already out to nearly a 7/10 of a second lead as Novak is loose. He's going around. Duvall gets into it. A couple of other drivers can't avoid.
And they are pointed the wrong way in the back straightaway, and that will draw the caution flag. And man, oh man, those two had such a good run going. And now they will, if they can salvage anything, we'll have to start from the rear of the running order. And Novak tried to hack save it a little bit there down into corner number 2, and it just went around. He was battling Ryan Luza on that inside line, and the thing just got away from him. The rear end just stepped out, and nothing Dylan Duvall could do. Dylan Duvall was focused on Taylor Hurst on the outside. You see it right here, just gets away from him. He loses control of that race car, and Dylan Duvall nowhere to go but into the side of the 15, then backs it up a little bit, and Zach Novak's going to get a little rear end damage, as is Dylan Duvall. So they have some work to do now in the final 50 laps.
And Dylan Duvall had a front windshield full of Zach Novak, a rear view mirror full of Casey Kerwin, and a side view window, or a side window of Taylor Hurst. So when we say there was nowhere for Dylan to go, there was literally nowhere for Dylan to go, because if he had turned left, it would have been the wall, and any other way, it would have been other cars. So good. I guess the best news for Duvall, no smoke coming out of the engine. That's probably the best thing to come out of that.
We've seen him wheel that thing all night long, so if anybody's going to try to get back to the front of the field, you best believe it's Dylan Duvall. We are getting close to the end of this race. We want to remind you that this portion of the program is brought to you by Blue Def Diesel Exhaust Fluid, the #1 selling DEF in America, and it's getting to go time. Matt Busa has been lights out on these last 2 restarts, and it seems like Ryan Luza, it takes a couple laps for that 6 car to really come in, but we haven't seen the long run that we saw at around the halfway point in this race. So I think if Ryan Luza is going to get back up here, unless he can wheel it around on the outside on this restart, he might need a couple laps to get that thing wound up.
Definitely might be the situation, and just keeping track of the slip angle cars, the group that we don't think is going to come down pit road unless we get something crazy happening at the end of the race. The number 83 car of Bobby Zelensky, he got a piece of that incident. So for the group that favored track position as much as they did early on, I think maybe giving some of it up just a bit. One of them, Chris Overland, is also running back down in the 18th spot, but 3-time Rayon Falla and the 83 of Bobby Zelensky, they'll be restarting on the same row here, row number 5, so both of them are in the top 10. Question has to be, how slow is that 83 car going to be with that damage? And of course, thinking about fuel, which is why we think they came down when they did. Are these cautions helping them, or are these cautions hurting them?
And right around the middle of the pack, you've got some very interesting names. We mentioned Ray Alfala there in position number 9, but how about Michael Conti just outside the top 10 in position number 11? Nick Shelton, he was involved, I believe, in the first caution flag of the evening, had that top 5 run going at Vegas. He's just outside the top 10 in position number 12. There's Keegan Leahy just behind him as well in position number 13. And there's Chris Shearburn also in the top 15 in car number 36, and picked up a new marketing partner on the side of that race car this week as well. After that top 5 run, that surprising top 5 run, as he put it, didn't expect to be in the top 5 at the end of that race in Vegas, but picked up SMS on the side of that race car. So we'll see if he can take these guys and put them towards the front of the field as we get ready to go back to racing. Field is getting ready to get side by side.
Yep, going to get side by side. 1 to go to come this time here. And like you said, Tim, Matt Busa has been lights out on these restarts. And having watched, I mentioned a little bit earlier, but Phoenix, I was actually over at Busa's to watch him race in this series. And it's uncanny just how quiet he is on the radio, and it's a very calm atmosphere, a very focused atmosphere, but very calm nonetheless. And Matt Busa isn't the driver who gets on the radio and starts shouting and cursing at all the other drivers. He just runs his own race and is just confident in his moves, and definitely showing it here tonight.
Getting ready to go back to green to complete lap number 157. If you're looking for the top Chaos Crew driver, it's currently Logan Clampett sitting back in position number 7 as he'll try to wheel that thing a little bit closer towards the front of the field in the late stages. And there goes the 34 car. Green flag is out, and we are back underway. The 6 of Luza, the 66 of Blake Reynolds on that outside got going as the inside line got stacked up a little bit. We're 3 wide down into corner number 1. Zielinski on the outside, Vincent in the middle, and there's Logan Clampett in the 46 car.
83 car caught the wall, so he's been 3 wide through 1 and 2 twice tonight, and he goes for a 3rd time in 3 and 4, and he's going to get sent up the racetrack. The 83 of Bobby Zielinski struggling to get momentum this season, and it's not going to be the night tonight that he really gets his season started. He goes from running the top 10 to coming across the timing beam in 30th. Meanwhile, in the mid-pack, things are still crazy. Your leaders are able to get through clean, and they're all single file, but the mid-pack, I'm not sure what happened, if there was a bit of an accordion effect or what, but those guys out front, they're already strung out, and the mid-pack is absolutely insane right now. 3 wide again, the 05 of Ottinger in this one.
There goes Overland.
Overland to the inside, going to make it 3 wide on the 27 of Mullis and the 36 of Shearburn on the outside, trying to pick up a couple of positions on that outside line, but here comes Overland back to the inside, trying to make it happen. 3 wide in front of them. Vincent on the inside. Did he possibly get a penalty? He's down onto pit road. Meanwhile, they continue to go 2 and 3 wide.
Richardson just about got spun in front of the field, and there goes Overland down to the bottom side as Lowe going to get sent up into the 02 of Bergeron. Bergeron goes around, caution flies again.
Yellow flag is out one more time, and you have to believe after these 2 and 3 wide moves, something had to give. You saw Bergeron on your screen. There's a 3 wide move. There's Ryan Lowe, and up into the 02 of Bergeron. Lazy little spin, not a whole lot of damage to that thing, maybe beside the 7 car as you go into the corner. Casey Kerwin set it up on the inside of Lowe, and little contact there up the racetrack. Bergeron, innocent bystander, know where he could go. Casey Tucker gets by in the 28. We'll be back under caution.
I really don't know what the 7 of Ryan Lowe is doing. Alex Bergeron gave him a ton of space up to the top groove of the racetrack, and it would have been a tight move from the 14 down on the bottom, but it would have been clean. He was more than alongside. He had every right to be down there, but for some reason the 7 of Ryan Lowe just turned in. I'm not sure what he expected, but well, unfortunately, the 02 of Alex Bergeron, he's the big loser in that incident, when I think it's the 7 of Ryan Lowe that deserves to be in the wall.
And they'll have an opportunity to get back and pick up some positions in this one late in the race. 163 now being worked on the board of 200. We have 31 drivers still on the lead lap in this one. Corey Vincent was down pit road there, almost created a log jam on that inside line. He's currently being scored as 1 lap down. Taylor Hurst scored as 4 laps behind the pace. And the other 2 drivers that we mentioned earlier, Michael Guest and Colton Davis, currently in the garage area and having some damage fixed to those race cars. But Matt Busa up in front looking to hold on to this one, and he's been lights out on these restarts. He's been really, really good at getting the pace, but it looked like Ryan Luza was keeping pace with him prior to that caution flag flying.
Yeah, he was, Tim, but I don't know if there's going to be enough time. Luza's going to have to, that car hasn't looked as hooked up as it was towards the first half of the race, so we'll just have to see if Luza can overcome that. And to talk about maybe just a little bit of a parallel between real life and here for us on iRacing, the 7 and the 14, yeah, those are teammates that just ran into each other. I'm having flashbacks to Jamie Mack and Kyle Larson over the weekend.
Yeah, that's one discussion I'm sure that will be fairly interesting tomorrow morning after they debrief after this race, but there's still lots of time to go. You see Casey Kerwin on your screen in the Napa number 14 as he works around on the back straightaway. 3 names that are in the top 5 that we haven't talked a whole lot about this season so far. How about Blake Reynolds in 3rd, Brandon Pipgrass in 4th, Christian Chalner in position number 5, albeit we do have some laps to run and the names behind them, and they're pretty stout. You got Ray Alfalo, Logan Clampett, Keegan Leahy, Michael Conti, and Nick Shelton in the top 10, but so far so good. Great runs by those drivers. Great to see Pipgrass up here in the top 5 after making his way up through the Pro Series, trying to get that first top 5 of his career in this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series. Currently on the outside of row number 2, and Blake Reynolds is due for a top 5 too.
Definitely a lot of drivers that want to get good results, but I think, this race here at Richmond, round number 5 of the season, I think this really starts the midpoint of the championship, and because of that, a lot of guys are going to want to start carrying momentum through. I honestly think the fireworks aren't done yet. We got 35 laps to go. I think we're going to get another 2, if not 3 cautions before the end of this one. I think there's going to be a lot of aggressive moves coming through here once we get to the end of this thing. So lights are going to come out on the pace car. They should anyways this time through. See the field already. Lights on the pace car go out. Field starts forming up, and question has to be, where's the next big incident going to be? Because these guys have not liked big long runs this evening.
Should mention as well the caution count record here at Richmond in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series. 19 cautions back in 2011. Ray Alfalo went to victory lane, and that one led 146 laps. I don't think we're quite there yet, but Ray Alfalo isn't quite there yet either. Currently sitting in position number 6, looking to get his way towards the front of the field. Anything can happen in these closing laps, and we'll see if Matt Busa can lock down a victory, or see if Ryan Lewis can extend the streak and go to 3 in a row on the 2018 season. Pace car is going to peel off here. We'll see what Busa does here, and he is on the hammer once again. A green flag flies. We're back underway, and the battle is for second. Pip grass all over the back bumper of Luza.
He thought about making it 3 wide, but had to drop in behind Luza, and now we'll see that bottom side was able to find his caution behind. I believe that was the 12 that went spinning, or no, it's the 05 of Shelton. Or yeah, you're right, Ottinger.
Yeah, the Shelton machine was sideways on the outside line. Ottinger was sideways on the inside line, and when everybody is so close, let's take a pace of action to avoid. The 57 may have got up the racetrack a little bit, and the 05 and the 12 make a little contact. Mullis nowhere to go but into the back of the Chaos Crew car in front of him, and we'll see caution. And I think we talked about it earlier on a couple of these restarts where they should have wadded up about 20 cars. This is only a 2, maybe 3 car incident if you count the 27 getting in and not going around, but that could have been a lot larger than it was.
Yeah, it definitely could have been, and I think what we're starting to get is that things are starting to just, people aren't making those miraculous saves we saw earlier. There was, I mean, the majority of this race, I think, likely should have been like this, with some of the moves guys were making on the restart. Absolutely no patience being shown by a number of drivers, and with, over 30 laps left, there's no reason to get quite that aggressive. Not saying you just need to fall over and die, but trying to force it 3 wide and throw a big move like that going into 1 is always just going to be, more often than not, it's going to be tears. We didn't see the cautions earlier because people would make some amazing save, but now people are starting to run out a little bit of talent. The tires are starting to get older, and we're just starting to log glass behind the safety car. I think one driver who's likely very happy about that going to be the number 66. That Raven Graphics car looks very good, up 27 spots on the night. He'd likely be just fine with a bunch of yellows ending this one out so he can get a nice podium here at Richmond.
And you look at drivers making some gains here this evening. Your 3rd, 4th, and 5th place drivers currently on the racetrack. Reynolds, Pipgrass, and there's Ray Alfala. Started 30th, started 24th, and started 25th respectively on the racetrack. And you can see the change in position on your screen there as well. And we're going to see what happens here in these final few laps. 30 laps to go in this one. And we mentioned running behind the pace car. The frustrations, I'm sure, are coming up in some of these cars because that sense of urgency. We talked about it for the last 30 laps or so, but it's getting down to go time, and especially on these restarts where everybody is so close to each other. If you can make it 3 wide and pass 3 or 4 cars, you're doing great as long as you don't get caught up in anything on that evasive move.
And the other issue is, Tim, here is we're going to be at about 30 laps to go here. This isn't, give the guy in front of you a little bit of space to, extend the green flag run. This is, I've got to get every position possible because I'm out of time. I don't have time to go up there and wait on a long run here. So if I'm somebody like a Christian Challoner or a Ray Alfala, it's kind of, you're kind of stuck at this point because you're probably not going to have a lot of chances to make up a lot of these spots. You got to make these passes happen now, or at least before you make it to turn number 1 and 2, because every time we've gotten there, it's been either somebody's just been impatient or someone's just gotten into somebody else, but either way, there's been an accident in there.
If you're Busa, you kind of like it. Obviously, you want to win the race, get some green flag laps in. But if you're Busa, you love it because you get out front, you put the hammer down, you go for 3 or 4 laps, and then the caution flag comes out. If you're Ryan Lewis and everybody else playing chase, you want to get that long green flag run. Even if we can get a 15 to 20 lap run, you'd see those guys make the moves. But those guys in the back, they're also trying to make moves. They're trying to pick up 2, 3, 4 spots on these restarts, and that's usually where we see the bomb go off. The cars going around, guys getting into each other, and the impatience overflowing, let's say, in the middle of the field.
Yeah, and I still don't think it's done yet. I think we'll likely get a decent run, maybe not here, but before the end of this thing, but will not be surprised if this is a race that ends under yellow. A lot of people, I think, are going to be frustrated at this point, and a lot of people are just going to be like, you know what, this guy in front of me, I'm going to throw a move. I don't care if it sticks or not. I'm just going to basically put him in a position to where if he comes down, he's going up into the wall. So expect some aggressive moves, and I expect another quick caution.
we'll see what happens here. Pace car is off. Busa goes once again. Great start for Busa. Green flag flies. And watch Pipgrass. Pipgrass was aggressive on that last one. We'll go 3 wide down into corner number 1. Lose on the outside. Pipgrass in the middle. And Blake Reynolds on the inside. And hello, Ray Alfala. Alfala trying to make the move as well. They're back to 2 wide, and Luz is going to lose 2 spots.
I was worried about that happening to Luza, but he's going to fight back. A little bit of a tap there to the 29 of Pipgrass, and Pipgrass going to go way up the racetrack there. But like I said, I just wasn't sure the 6 had been as good as it had been at the start, but he's starting to bring it back now. Is continuing to be 3 wide because nobody's letting Pipgrass by as the battle meanwhile is for second. Reynolds versus Alfala to turn number 3.
As they go down into corner number 3, Alfala looking to the inside of Reynolds for position number 2. Luza is there waiting to see where he can pounce to try to pick up a spot. Looking to the inside. It's the 6 on the inside, 66 on the outside as they go at it for position number 3. Keegan Leahy, Christian Chalner going at it. And oh, by the way, guys like Conti coming through the field as well within the top 10. This is where everything gets exciting, but it's all behind Matt Busa.
The 2 machine of Alfala, he's going to get clear as Ryan Michael Luza. Now he's going to start fighting with the 6 of Blake Reynolds. Turns out I was wrong. These guys want to keep it green for just a little bit as Luza's going to pick up that 3rd spot. Now can Blake Reynolds hold on against the 24 machine of Keegan Lee? Keegan's going to quickly get to the bottom and look for him to maybe get a run and make short work of that number 66 car. It's been good strategy to get Blake out there out in front, but doesn't seem to be panning out here as we get more green flag last run. Now the question has to be Alfala. No, we got a car in 1, 29 up near the wall, the 7 machine, and we're going to stay green as they hold on to it somehow. The 05 of Anders trying to make moves through the middle of the field. Now the 57 bounces up into the back straightaway. There's a big pile up in 3 and 4.
Oh, Adam going for a tumble down there in corner number 4. The Gary Mercer trucking number 8 getting upset. Among the cars that were going around, the yellow flag will fly. And as we said, coming off of corner number 2, there was a lot happening here.
That wreck lasted like half a lap.
Yeah, they were trying for a few laps at least. Pipgrass and Novak, I think, were the first 2 to make the contact. You see Ryan Lowe go to the inside, Letteriello back out on the racetrack. Hard hit for the 27 of Mullis. Man, oh man, lots of hard hits, and Adam Gilliland going up and over. I know this is one of his favorite racetracks, and I know he has to feel a little dejected. There goes the 29 car around to Pipgrass, and it looks like Pipgrass had it saved for the most part, then comes down to the racetrack and into the 7 of Ryan Lowe. Lowe nowhere to go, and they all scatter from there.
Yeah, and it all got triggered. I think it was Duval sent it in to turn number 1 and just got the left rear of Novak that started all of that, checked everybody up, and then everybody went scattering, and you saw what happened to Pipgrass, just not able to save the car. And then, like you said, AG8 Adam Gilliland just absolutely gets drop kicked by the 10. So it's been a long day for Adam, and the day just got a whole lot longer for that team because that car is junk.
Yeah, we talked about the attrition rate not being too bad here for a racetrack like Richmond.
Yeah, never mind.
I think it's going to pile up. I think it's going to pile up a little bit, and I think the number 8 is going to be one of those first ones that leads that parade to the garage. But man, a tough break for him and a bunch of others there in the middle of the pack. It's a great thing for Busa, but now he's going to have new company on the outside in the Virtual Racing School Ford of Ray Alfala. Alfala has been to victory lane here twice. He's looking to take a series-leading 3rd win here at Richmond Raceway, and he's only got one more car to get there. That car right in front of him, that Camry, the 34 of Busa.
Well, I only have 2 thoughts. My first thought is, are any of these guys going to have cars left over to wreck when we go to Sonoma in a few weeks? And the second question is, has anyone in the history of this series had a more up and down night than the 83 of Bobby Zielinski? We have seen Yo-Yo Man over here go from the top of the field to the bottom of the field to the top of the field to the bottom of the field. He was running like 25th when that wreck happened in front of him, and he somehow squeaks through, and he finds himself running in 12th, as I heard a little bit of contact under caution. Hope that's not people being some dinguses, but that 83 machine of Bobby Zielinski, he made some moves getting through that wreck, and he somehow, after being in the wall a few times, getting sent around a couple times, having huge incidents a few times in front of him, is running 12th out here on the racetrack, and I don't know how.
And there's still 20 laps to go, and he's running in that 12th place position, so he could go up or down 1 or 2 more times before this thing is all said and done. You look at the number 2 of Alfala, pacing on the outside of Busa. You have Ryan Luza in 3rd. Keegan Leahy made some moves on that restart to put himself into position number 4, and then Blake Reynolds in position number 5. Those guys up in front, they found a place to race for the most part, the first top 5 or so, and then everybody else had that sense of urgency in the middle of the pack, the Hornet's Nest, and we finally saw that one be kicked into a wreck coming off of corner number 2. So we'll see who has the patience enough up front to maybe get some laps logged here and get to the end of this race with 19 laps remaining, and we'll see who tries to make their way through and possibly pick up a couple of spots here late.
And meanwhile, Busa's been able to just open up this huge gap, and basically he could sit out there and have a Chicago dog because of the lead he has. He has not had to worry too much ever since we got to that 3/4 point. So assuming he keeps nailing these hole shots on the restarts, I don't think anybody's going to be able to challenge him, Tim. I just haven't seen the sheer speed from anybody yet.
Especially on the short run as we get ready to go back to green. For you Chaos Crew fans that are watching, Logan Clampett running 7th, Michael Conti running in 9th, your top 2 Chaos Crew drivers in this field. Pace cars in, and there goes Busa, and Alfala tried to time it, but Ryan Luza was on it on the inside. How about the fast track Sims Ford? He's going to move to position number 2 and kick Alfala back to 3rd.
The 3-time and the man going for 3 in a row are going to fight for that 2nd spot of the 42, Dylan Duvall. He ends up in the outside wall coming off the corner. We got a car slow on the inside as well as caution flies again. The 7's involved, and we get the pace for a little bit more.
Yeah, the 47 and the 42 is what started that, and we'll see if there's any repercussion here between those two or any ill feelings between them, but it started with the 42 and the 47. You saw it just off the screen there, the 42 and the 47 made the contact, and then the 47 came down to the inside and hooked the 7 car of Ryan Lowe. I don't know if that thing wouldn't keep straight or not, but look at it there. Casey Kerwin maybe get into the 47 of Overland, sent the 42 up the racetrack, and then got a little loose and hooked her down to the inside. Got that 7 car of Ryan Lowe all kinds of sideways and across the racetrack. So that will bring out the caution flag, but tough running here. Everybody's going to try to pick up a couple of spots late in this one, and tough break for Overland, who ran well early in the race. And man, it seems like Ryan Lowe has a magnet towards him. He's been involved in the last couple of cautions, and some of them not really his doing.
And I'm not sure what happened to Overland, apart from, you know, he gets into the 42 or whatever, and I don't know if he just got back onto the gas too soon or what the case was, but just not able to hold control of that car. And Ryan Lowe, like you said, just gets absolutely blindsided there once again, and it's already been a long night for the Dracon Tech Camry, and it's about to get a whole lot longer here, Tim.
The 9 car going past the field, Phil Diaz is your free pass car, and he'll get back, I believe, on the lead lap as we're coming down to the end of this one, and Diaz scored in 29th position, and gonna need some extracurricular work to that virtual race car following this race, as he's missing a couple of sheet metal parts to the front of that car. But it's short track racing. We've seen it before. Some of these cars up in front, guys like Matt Busa and Ryan Luza, look pretty pristine, but you look back outside that top 5, top 10 or so, you start seeing those battle scars in these race cars.
Yeah, you start seeing those guys that are coming from the mid-pack where all the drama is happening. You start getting to the likes of Keegan Leahy and Clampett. You think about the fights he was involved with, even with his teammate, the 05 machine. And by the way, Nick Ottinger, he narrowly avoided that spin as well. Challoner's been in some drama. Michael Conti's unfortunately sort of gone the wrong way as the night's gone on. Casey Kerwin. How in the world the O2 of Bergeron is running on the top 10 is pretty much a miracle to me. Bobby Zelensky's in 11th, Nick Shelton. So I think outside of 10th place, from 10th on back, every single car we've talked about being involved in the wall or into another car at one point or another. There's a lot of free memorabilia being handed out in the pits after this one.
And how is Kerwin 9th? How did he pull that off? He's been in like the last 2 incidents.
Magic. You activated his trap card.
Keeping the car straight and not getting into anything else. He might have had a little bit of contact, but he kept forward momentum, so he's able to stay up there in the top 10. But Logan Clampett, we rode on board with Logan Clampett a little bit here this evening. He's going to start on the outside of row number 3. His Chaos Crew corporate teammate right behind him, and Michael Conti, and there's a little rub to the side of that car as well, a little bit of hood pop to the Richmond Raceway Camry. So he's been in a couple of things here this evening, has swapped a little bit of virtual paint, but still a little ways to go. He's on the outside of row number 3 as we get ready to go back to green, and we'll have 13 laps right here, so 12 laps to go when we come back to the line to settle this thing.
This is going to be, I think, crazy. As the lap counter ticks down, people are only going to get more aggressive, which, I mean, it's hard to believe that such a thing exists, but I don't know. This is going to be a rough and tumble one to the end. I'd be surprised, like you said earlier, if this one ends under green, but it's going to be interesting to see. I think the thing to watch on this restart, though, we saw the 6 of Luza jump Alfala, got a good run on the inside. This time they swap spots. Luz on the outside of the front row, Alfala to the inside of that second row. Look for him to try to time this restart and make a move on that number 6 car.
Yeah, Luza was real good on that last restart from that inside line. We'll see what he can do from the outside. Looks pretty good. Busa is gone, and looks like Ryan Luza going to be able to tuck into line as they dive it down into corner number 1. Alfala in third. Battle is for fourth. Reynolds trying to take it away from Leahy, and maybe a little bit of contact there. Close quarter racing at a 2.
Yeah, and meanwhile, it's going to be Alfala down to the inside of Luza. He'll poke the nose in as they head through 3 and 4. Keep in mind, these guys racing both the track and the other drivers. I mean, we could see a caution maybe in this thing before too long, so they got to make positions now. Is Alfala going to move to second position just in front of Luza here? Completes the pass out of 2.
Racing the other drivers and racing the lap counter. Looks like Logan Clampitt got a little bit sideways out of corner number 2 that last time by as he tries to maintain the outside line on Casey Kerwin. Kerwin trying to go to the inside and pick up something, and Zielinski poked the nose underneath. He looked at 3 wide.
I don't know how the 83 Zielinski is still brave enough to go 3 wide at any point on this racetrack, considering I think he's tried it 4 times and ended up in the wall every single time. But you know what? I don't really care at the same time, as he's going to try to make that move on Michael Connie as Booth is high on the racetrack. The 2 machine of Alfala has a run, has a bit of overlap. He's going to look to the inside here in corners number 1 and 2, and he's got the freshest tires, I believe, on the field. Look for him to get a run off the bottom. He's going to nose ahead down the back straightaway. They're going to be roughly even, but in towards 3 and 4, I think Alfala is going to have the advantage.
He waited for the door to open on the inside, and Ray Alfala trying to complete this pass and go to lead. Busa gets a great run on that top line at a corner number 4. Will be even with Ray going down into corner number 1. Ray Alfala up the racetrack a little bit, and here comes Luza. Luza looking to be a part of the battle, and Keegan Leahy as well. Oh boys, we have a battle on our hands here at Richmond, this time by 7 laps to go.
It's a 10-lap tire difference, Randy. You said Ray had the freshest. You are indeed correct. Also, Leahy on the same tire strategy as the 2, but Busa hanging tough. More contact up the road goes Busa. He'll lose first and second and falls back to 4th.
And now does the 6 car of Ryan Luza have anything for Ray Alfala? Alfala leads this race, looking for his 3rd win at this Richmond Raceway. And Ryan Luza looking for his 3rd win in a row in 2018. He closes in that Fast Track Sims Ford Fusion, looking to make it happen on the virtual racing school. Number 2 gets into the wall a little bit at a corner number 2 does Luza.
Hopefully that doesn't hurt it whatsoever as they work themselves to the bottom in 3 and 4. Going to be 5 laps remaining around this Richmond Raceway, and it's going to be Ray Alfala commanding the field. Can Ryan Luza make something happen on the older tires? There may have been a 10-lap differential between Alfala and Busa, but I think it's likely even more so between Alfala and Luza as they work themselves in towards 3 and 4. Nothing going just yet as the 24 Keegan Lee was really working his teammate hard. Busa's falling back to 4th, and the 2 machine of Alfala, he's starting to stretch his legs. 4 laps to go. Caution. I think that's going to end it.
Caution is out on the speedway, and this should be the race as long as Ray Alfala can get back under his own power in these next couple laps. But we'll see what happened to bring out what should be our final caution. Is it Zach Novak?
He's slow.
He had a really good run here this evening going as well. So if it is the case, it's a tough break for the 15 car of Novak. But up in front, they'll come by to 3 to go. You see the wounded number 15 car on your screen.
I actually don't see a spin, but that car was really slow down the back straightaway. I wonder if he was just so off pace that it tripped to yellow, because I don't see anyone around anywhere.
Did he possibly stop on the racetrack maybe to bring the caution flag out?
He didn't stop. He was trying to keep it underneath the apron on the yellow line, but that wall in the low groove, it's a little bit closer than most racetracks, and I think he may have just sort of accidentally crept up.
Oh no, it was issues with Ottinger and Overland. That's what it was. They made contact coming out of 4. It was Bergeron Overland.
And absolutely, they did Bergeron a part of that as well. And man, Alex Bergeron, we talked about him being in the top 10 coming down to that last restart, and looks like he's not going to finish there. As
I think he hit the incident limit.
He may have, as he comes out of corner number 4, and that car will disappear from your screen. So that might have been where it was. A rough and wounded race car for the O2 of Alex Bergeron. Tough way to end it here at Richmond Raceway. But we're a lap and a half away from ending this thing. And Ray Alfalla, there's been no driver that has won at this racetrack 3 times. We've been here 8 times since the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing series began. Nobody's won here 3 times. Ray Alfalla's won twice. Kenny Humpy's won twice. And Nick Ottinger's won twice. But Alfalla looking to break the tie here.
He's looking pretty good, too, especially to have to do the last lap under caution. Question is, what's actually the most wins, Tim, that anyone has on any of the tracks that we have? Is it 3 or is it 4?
We'd have to double check on the book, but Ray Alfalla likes this racetrack. He's run strong here before, and he could have had a 4th win back in 2012. He led 115 laps when Steve Sheehan went to victory lane, so it doesn't matter when we come here. Ray Alfalla is always a contender at Richmond Raceway, and it looks like he is going to pick up a 3rd win. And by the way, the more important thing, maybe the 1st win on the season for this number 2 car, and he's been close a couple of times here in the 2018 campaign, and it's going to end the streak of Ryan Luza. Luza won the last 2 in 2018, going to come home in a 2nd. Keegan Leahy has been strong. He's going to come home in a 3rd, and what might have been for Matt Busa led a lot of laps late in this one, but passed late by Ray Alfalla, and Alfalla will come up out of corner number 4 behind the pace car, and the Virtual Racing School Ford Fusion will take the checkered flag and his 1st win of the 2018 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series, and 3rd here at the Richmond Raceway. Congratulations to Ray Alfalla. I'm sure we'll chat with him in just a few moments' time, but a lot of cautions, but man, a lot of good racing in between.
Yeah, there was, and it's a shame it did have to end under caution, because that would have been a fantastic battle between your top 3 there at the end, between Alfalla, Luza, and Leahy. And if they had gotten, you know, maybe more furious battling, maybe Busa could have come back into it. And meanwhile, how about Christian Challenger, who comes through all the chaos, started 15th. I think we barely said his name once or twice tonight, finishes 5th, so a great job for the driver of the 78.
Great way to wrap up that one for Chalner. And by the way, when you look at the Chaos crew, it was an up and down night for them. Logan Clampett finishing in 8th, Michael Conti in 10th, the 2 of the Chaos crew in the top 10, as Ray Alfalla lights it up in the infield. And we'll go through your full field rundown to see where everybody finished here this evening at the Richmond Raceway. And obviously that 2 car spanked them at the end. Ray Alfalla going to victory lane and is celebrating with the Virtual Racing School drivers on the front straightaway. Ryan Luza, Keegan Leahy, Matt Busa, Christian Chalner, your top 5. Bobby Zielinski in 6th. We talked about the yo-yo night for him. It ends up in position at number 6. Casey Kerwin in 7th, Logan Clampett. Blake Reynolds had a strong run late, going to finish in the top 10 after starting 30th. And Michael Conti rounds out your top 10.
Nicholas Shelton, he's going to round out 11th. Jake Sturgios in 12th. Both of those drivers, big movers. Both of them outside the top 30. They need to be happy with that. Dylan Duvall up front early. He rounds out the 13th spot. Brandon Pipgrass in 14th. Chris Overland, he was involved in several incidents. I think he's going to have a pretty, let's say, drama-filled couple weeks with some of the drivers and some of the incidents he was involved with. He'll be 15th. Andrew Fayash the 3rd and 16th. Marcus Richardson 17th. Nick Ottinger seemed to be in the middle of everything all night. He finishes 18th with Ryan Lowe and Casey Tucker. They round out your top 20.
Yeah, then Nolan Scott, who had that huge hit on the inside wall, going to finish 21st. 22nd going to go to Brad Davies. David Rattler going to finish 23rd. 24th to Joe Letterello. Philip Diaz going to finish 25th. Ryan Schoenberg, not the night he wanted at all, going to finish 26th. 27th to Chris Sherburne. 28th to Corey Vincent. 29th to Zach Novak. And Alex Bergeron going to finish 30th.
And a couple of drivers that had some tough nights here this evening. Taylor Hurst, 8 laps down at the end of this one in position 31. Adam Gilliland, 23 back. Jimmy Mullis, 23 back. Michael Guest in 34th and completing your field. Colton Davis, he had an up and down early race to this one. We're going to step away for just a few moments' time, and we'll be back. We'll re-rack them for the post-race show here on RaceSpot and iRacing Live. Don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Section PU 402, row 41.
Jimmy Johnson, the fastest gun in the West.
Section 104, row 4.
Blaney got it the first win.
Section 25, row 3.
What a year for Bubba.
Section O, row 25.
Keselowski's going to win the Talladega.
Talladega.
Section 156, row 4.
Kurt Busch to the lead on the backstretch.
Section 233, row 1.
Martin Truex Jr. wins.
You get a seat, but we doubt you'll ever use it. Grab your seats at NASCAR.com/tickets today.
Welcome back to the Richmond Raceway, and round number 5 of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series has come to a close, and Ray Alfalla has gone to victory lane for the first time in 2018 and the third time here at Richmond Raceway. Ryan Luza, Keegan Leahy, Matt Busa, and Christian Chalner, your top 5. Exciting race, Randy, and a couple of cautions, but some intense racing in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, it was one of the most, it's easily the most intense race of the season. Unfortunately, the good intense racing we saw in the middle of the race just turned into pandemonium and people running out of talent towards the end of the race, which means we got a lot of yellows. I really wanted to see how the strategy worked for those slip angle guys.
And we'll get into the mind of one of them because they're in victory lane. Ray Alfalla and the Virtual Racing School Ford back in victory lane in a familiar place. Ray, your third win at Richmond Raceway. What is it about this racetrack?
Man, I don't know, but I guess my prediction from last race was right. So we're going to finish 0 at the next race. Well, we made a pretty dodgy pit call there to pit with 60 to go, and I really thought more people would pit with me, and almost nobody came in, and we came out 20th, and we said, well, I think we're fighting for our top 10. And then, you know, stuff started happening. We dodged a few crashes. We gained about 6 or 7 spots in one of the crashes off turn 2. And then at the end we had a tire advantage, so you know it's always anytime you can have a little bit of a tire advantage in a series like this where everybody kind of runs the same speed, you know you're in for a good time. But yeah, you know that's awesome. You know, get Virtual Racing School in victory lane and our third win at Richmond.
Talk about setting up that pass on Busa. You talked about the tire advantage, but for a driver that hasn't been to victory lane in a long while in that 34 and you searching for your first win of the season, talk about trying to set that thing up and trying to position it around the 34, Busa, with all these cautions flying around us too.
Yeah, well, Ryan got by me the restart before, and at that point I thought I was just going to be racing for second, and then I ended up having way more grip than he had with my fresher tires, and then I got to Busa, and I was kind of running out of that advantage, and I got him to overdrive the entry. I think to turn 3, I faked low a little bit, and he juked a little bit down there and compromised his entry. And then after that, I was just side by side with him, Jeff Gordon, Jeff Burton style, and I think looking at the replay, he got a little bit loose on the entry turn 1 and kind of hit my door, or he expected me to be a little bit lower. You know, I was making sure that I didn't want to just wash up the track and move him out of the way. But yeah, you know, it's just close racing. You know, I'm a Matt Booster fan. I want him to win. I had him on my fantasy team, so when we were running 1-2, I was like, oh, this is going to be a pretty good fantasy night, I think. But of course, you know, you got to get your own team in victory lane, and everybody at Slip Angle Motorsports has been working really hard, and you know, we've been working on it, and we finally made it to victory lane, and you know, it just feels good. We're in victory lane, I think, for the 9th consecutive year.
So now we look forward. Obviously, we head to Kansas in 2 weeks' time. You finally got that first win. You got the point lead. What else is there to do prior to the playoffs?
We just got to keep learning about the setups and how to make the cars go faster, and we'll see what happens with the new build and the new edition of the tire model comes around in June. And, you know, keep working, and you know, essentially you know, it's all a huge preparation for the playoffs and trying getting into Homestead where that's where it all matters.
Virtual racing school on the side of this thing. Who else makes it happen for the Red Rocket?
Yeah, well, you know, StemSimX, and of course, you know, NASCAR and iRacing, and again, you know, go to virtual racing school for coaching, data packs, and just, you know, overall how to become a better driver, or how to help your own team, you know, share data. And you know, and again, thanks a lot to Turkey and Liam for their help on the box. I was making last-second calls rolling down pit road before the box, and Chris Hennion was you know, right on the ball. So everything worked well, and you know, well, I think we go to Kansas in 2 weeks or something. So wherever we'll go, we'll just, you know, keep working hard and see if we can keep winning.
And try to back up what he did here. Ray Alfalla back in victory lane at the Richmond Raceway for his first win of the 2018 season. A guy that came close, finishing in position number 2, who's won the last 2 races in this series. Ryan Luza has caught up with Randy.
Well, Ryan, it's not been a bad sort of 6 weeks for you, has it? A win, and a second. That's going to look pretty nice on the points, I think. Ryan, you there?
Yeah, sorry about that. I think it pulled me in late.
No worries. So a win, and a second place tonight at Richmond. We know you wanted to make it 3 on the trot, but regardless, to have 3 races in a row with a worst finish at second, that's going to be pretty nice on the points placard, I think.
Yeah, I mean, car was really good. We didn't have quite as good of a car tonight as we've had like in the past 3 weeks, but still brought it home second. Really solid race. Just kept the track position. The win-in call was to obviously pit with 60 to go, but that puts you in a lot of danger back there in the back of the pack. I think they were like 22nd on new tires and ended up coming all the way through, as that was like the last pit stop people made. But I just felt like it was a lot safer to stay out, keep the track position, and just, you know, keep the little bit older tires with a little bit less risk, because it was getting really crazy back there. So I think that was the right call for us. Pull it home second. Still had a chance at the win, but the car was super loose there on some of the restarts, and Matt got us early. But nevertheless, this is a good race for us. Appreciate everybody racing pretty clean up front. But yeah, really crazy. Just glad we brought it home second for sure.
Well, talking about those guys from Slip Angle that you saw come down pit road, I mean, in terms of how sketchy it was, 3 of them came down pit road. The only one that really made it back up to the front was Ray. Bobby Zielinski sort of did, but sort of had a nice little buffer getting through a 10-car pileup in front of him. But actually talking about the strategy, we saw a lot of crazy things in the first 100 laps of the race before it came a yellow fest. People staying out, people only taking 2 tires. A lot of cars leapt their way forward. That's how Ray got his way to the front in the first place, matter of fact. What was it about Richmond tonight that people were able to run on old tires the way they were, only take 2 or not even take any at all, even after a relatively decent run?
It's just so how hard it is to pass here, because the bottom lane rubbers up real fast, and quickly the top lane is just as fast, and if not faster. And it's so much harder to pass if somebody's holding that middle groove, and you can just keep getting the run on them off the corner, even if they're a 1/10 a lap slower, 2/10 a lap slower even, you still can't make the pass most of the time. So that's why the racing was crazy, and that's why a lot of people were staying out. Just a lot of track position for free, essentially, and all you had to do was, you know, hold the spot, hold the top side, not mess up, and you'd come out in the positive almost every time. So I just tried to keep myself up there, you know, take 4 whenever I needed to, and stay out whenever I felt like it was good. And I don't think we were out of the top 2 or 3 the entire race. So executed our strategy, didn't come out with the win, but second is just fine for me, so I'll take it any day.
Well, we saw him make a cameo on the forums, and he won a Legends race today. Think we'll see Junior in this series next season?
I'm not sure. I think that'd be really cool. Good for the series. So hopefully he decides to. I think it'd be really healthy for iRacing, and I know he used to be in it, so that'd be cool for everybody, and I know he'd be fast.
Well, thanks for joining us, Ryan. Congratulations on the second big head of steam after your championship last season and really carrying it through the start of this one. Any sponsor plugs at the end of this one tonight for you?
Just thanks to Fast Track Sims for being on board yet again. Thanks to everybody at Phenom Racing Team for the work they put in. Big thanks to Keegan. He's been putting in a lot more work than me, and he's been faster than me too. But I keep edging him out on these races somehow. So his luck will turn around. I'm sure he'll get a few more wins for himself. So PRT will be staying on strong the rest of the year.
So for PRT, the heavy lifter, I think he stood by it with Cisco Scaramuza. He stood by the 24, Keegan Leahy.
Yeah, I'll catch up with Keegan here. Finishes third in the number 24. And Keegan, it was a long race, and after all that racing, you started fourth, you finished third, so not a lot of change there, but the numbers only tell very little of the story. Talk us through the race, man.
Yeah, that was certainly an up and down day. Thankfully, it finished on the up, but yeah, along the way there was quite a few issues with strategy, and got stuck out of the groove a few times and got shuffled to the outside. And this track's like Martinsville, especially on these restarts. If you're not on the bottom, you're gonna get sent to the back pretty quick. And yeah, I just played the strategy right. I made a really questionable 4-tire stop that sent me back to about 20th, but the cautions played out and all the restarts worked out really well, and I made my way up slowly but surely to third.
Well, you hung around the front most of the day, but what was the biggest challenge for you? Was it the strategy, or was it, we saw the bottom line get rubbered in a lot as well, and we saw you kind of go to that middle line. Was that kind of what you were fighting all day, or what was the biggest challenge for you?
I'd say the biggest challenge was driving my tight car, because I had this thing set up so I wouldn't spin out on these restarts. Everyone has to be really twitchy to be fast here, but I just took the philosophy that, hey, if there's going to be a bunch of crashes and stuff, which is what there seemed to be in the NASCAR iRacing series races that we did earlier this week, I wanted to have a really good, stable car to start these restarts. So on the long runs, yeah, it was a challenge to hold my position because I was so tight, but it really worked out, and I'm happy I did it.
Well, Keegan Leahy, I know you don't do it by yourself. Lots of partners, sponsors on the car as well. Who are they, and how can we find out more about them?
Yeah, so I'm sure Ray already gave you the spiel on Virtual Racing School. I just did a setup webinar that you can find on the VRS Facebook page, and I heard a lot of good feedback, so I think I helped a lot of people doing that, and it really feels good to be able to produce good content like that helps people out. So yeah, check that out, please. And thanks to my teammates. Great run for Ryan. You already gave him an interview too. And Chris had an unfortunate crash at the end, but he was running well too tonight. And thank you, guys.
That's Keegan Leahy. He started fourth, finished third, but long race for him. Keegan, congrats. And I believe I think Tim might have caught up with the driver, the number 34, finished fourth here after starting seventh, and that's Matt Busa, and he's with Tim Terry.
Yeah, Matt Busa coming home with position number 4, and it looked good late in the race, Matt. Let's talk about the race here at Richmond Raceway.
Yeah, it started off pretty well. We had a couple short green flag rounds in the beginning, and I saw they had some decent pace on the long run and the short run, which is what I was nervous about before the race. Wasn't too confident in the long run speed, but it turned out to be pretty good. And fell back to about 10th with some of the cautions and different strategies. Then towards the end there, I got by Lusa with about like 50 to go, I believe. And then all the cautions started happening, and after each caution, I was like, are they just going to keep wrecking and I'm just going to get this win by pacing? And then sure enough, though, I checked my mirror, and there's Ray on his fresh tires, and just could not hold him off there at the end. He was just doing a really good job of holding it down in the yellow line, and we had some nice side-by-side racing, but he was just a better car and fresh tires there at the end.
A strong run here this evening, and a strong run for the team as well. Nick Ottinger ran strong early in the race. It has to feel good for your program that those cars were running near the front of the field.
Yeah, certainly. We had a really good setup there. As I said, it actually had both short and long run speed, which is what you look for in short tracks to save the tires. And I saw Mike Conti had a pretty sizable lead on the longest run of the race, and he's working with us as well. So yeah, we had a strong showing overall for all our cars.
And a great run for you as well. What does this do for your momentum this season and going into the summer stretch?
Yeah, it's definitely a big confidence booster. The last 2 races, we ran like pretty poorly at Auto Club. Definitely, I would say the worst race of our entire team's career. We just ran in the 30s all race. Could not figure out this camber setups. And then last week we had some really good pace, but had some poor strategy on pit road and some black flags. So I'm looking forward to not so much Kansas, but definitely the rest of the season, looking to carry on the momentum.
Maybe not looking forward to Kansas, but what can we expect in 2 weeks' time?
Well, it's known to be a highline track, but pretty curious to see if the low line will come in when the top gets heated up. I haven't run any races there in NAS or anything to see how the dynamic track works there. So it'll definitely be interesting to see if that works.
Who do we have on the side of this race car that makes it happen each week?
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to Radicals Online. We've been working with them on the roadside, and they've hopped on board to be the full-time oval sponsors with Six Sideways, Joel Real Timing, Cranfield Simulations, and of course all the guys at Gale Force, Matt Holden, and the guys at Team Conti, with Conti Schoenberg, Brandon Hastings, and a shout out to Brad Davies for hopping on board with us the last 2 weeks.
There's Matt Busa coming home with a solid 4th place run, led some laps here at Richmond Raceway, and a great momentum boost for that 34 team to finish in the top 5 here this evening. I believe Randy has caught up with our 5th place finisher here this evening, and a name we didn't talk about a whole lot here this evening, but Christian Chalner in the top 5.
Prepare your accent detectors, because Christian Chalner from UK&I put on a fantastic race tonight. Christian, Tim's not lying. We didn't really talk about that number 78 car much. He just, despite all the drama that was happening, well, from the commentary booth, you weren't involved with too much of the drama, and it ended up working out for you, running out top 5. How was it from your perspective?
Well, I can understand why he didn't really talk about it as much, because honestly, there wasn't really a lot to talk about. We weren't really all that fast. We just we had some really great strategy tonight. So I got to say a huge shout out to Robbie, Sam, and Adam. Made some great calls. Normally not that aggressive on this strategy, but really worked out tonight. Realized early on that basically couldn't pass nobody. Had really struggled on the long run because we were just getting really tight in the middle of the corner. So just decided that, well, we'll roll the dice. We'll take 2 tires a few times. I think I ended up finishing on a set of lefts that had done over 100 laps at the end, and we had some good fortune, especially on some of the restarts. Felt like I'm normally terrible at restarts, but had some really good restarts tonight. Had some really lucky ones as well, like that one where Taylor Hurst he disappeared. Feel bad for him because he's a good guy, but it helped our race. It probably actually saved our race. So got to say big shout out to all the guys for putting us in the situation to get what we could get with what we had.
Now, you were in the playoffs last season. Didn't end up panning out for you. It was really sort of a career best for you at that point. Think you might be able to put something else together? It's not been a great start of the season for you, but you think you might be able to rebound off a top 5 tonight?
It really depends, because we've had some good results, then we've had some really terrible results. It seems to be going on a cycle where we'll have a good result, then a bad result, then a good result. So I guess Kansas, we should prepare for the worst. So, but no, really, I think for now we're a bit in survival mode. We're not really that on top of, especially what we got to do with the cars right now. And personally, I don't really like driving them in these open setups because they just don't handle right to me. It's not my style. But if we can hang on until we get to the build, and if everything changes the way that we hope it will, then yeah, perhaps we can do something. If we're still close to that top 8, we'll hopefully be able to get back into it.
Who gets it done for you on that number 78 car?
Sorry?
Sponsor plugs, shout outs. Who gets it done on the 78?
Yes, I forgot at Daytona. I got to say big shout out to Hersingveld for sponsoring us for another year on this car. Night Fox Designs for their sponsorship and the paints that they always put out for us. Sucks Out Racing, it's really good. Trucks on Road Course is serious. It's running right now. It's probably a race in another 2 weeks. Start accepting signups, so if anybody's interested in that, that'll be good for them. And yeah, just big shout out to all the team, because everybody put in a lot of work. Short tracks is really not our thing, so it was good to have a good result.
Well, there he is, 5th place runner, Christian Challoner. And, well, it seems to me there, Tim, he's kind of feeling this one was a win with some of their pace they had tonight.
And with the way the race panned out for a lot of these teams that were within the top 10, some of them would classify this as a victory. And when you look at the top 10 in points, you get another shakeup in the standings. Obviously, Ray Alfala and Ryan Luza on top. They've been there since pretty much the start of the year. Keegan Leahy, Bobby Zielinski, Michael Conti in the top 5, holding on to that top 5 position in the standings. And then you got Logan Clampett, Nick Ottinger, who had an up-and-down night in 7th, Busa Davies, and Nick Shelton was involved in the first caution flag of the evening and comes back home with a great run here to put himself 10th in the point standings after 5 races. Cisco, let's talk about this race, up-and-down race here at Richmond. Lots of cautions, but lots of exciting racing action in between. And Ray Alfala having to set up that pass to take away the victory on Matt Busa.
Yeah, though, if I owned a used car junkyard after this race, I'd all of a sudden have a bunch of NPAS cars after it. But nonetheless, we survived Richmond, but we'll look forward to see if they can survive yet another race here coming up. I believe it's Dover.
Coming up in 2 weeks is Kansas right off the hop, and we're racing there down the road in Dover. But let's talk about Kansas, Randy. Obviously, Las Vegas Motor Speedway provided some great racing. Kansas Speedway, wide open space, lots of speed. I think we're going to see a great race there in 2 weeks.
Going to be interesting, especially with the multi-groove racing that iRacing's really worked on the past year and a half. That upper groove is typically where you see people run, but it's not out of the question that gets rubbered in, gets hot, and you might see people move down to the bottom. We saw that tonight, really running that second lane at Richmond. We've seen that a few times this season already. Then, of course, it's just an interesting run of tracks through this middle part of the season. You got the 200-lapper at Charlotte, which is the longest race on the season, 125 laps at Michigan, and then you have Sonoma, which is going to be a complete shake-up for a lot of people. Chicagoland, New Hampshire, Pocono, and then if you guys think this was rough, if you think Dover might be rough, running under the lights at Bristol once we get to August. So there's a lot of curveballs through the middle phase of this championship.
There's a lot of teams looking forward to the Bristol Motor Speedway. I can tell you that. Great to have Bristol back on the schedule. But with that, round number 5 and the chapter number 5 for this season has been completed. Congratulations to Ray Alfala scoring his first win on the season and, of course, his 3rd at Richmond Raceway. The series will take its week off next Tuesday and return on Tuesday, May the 8th for round number 6 of the Kansas Speedway. That race and every race of the 2018 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series can be found right here on RaceSpot and iRacing Live. Need to thank all the folks that you see on your screen, Simon Grossman, Kevin Papey and their team, Andy Werner, Will Vincent, the birthday boy this week, Hugo Louis, Drew Adamson, and the entire team here at RaceSpot on behalf of Randy Chenoweth, Cisco Scaramuza, and myself, Tim Terry. We want to thank you for tuning in here tonight. Until 2 weeks' time at the Kansas Speedway, keep the hammer down. We'll see you at the track.